Vanzetta's playing half forward.
Okay. Oh, it's on. Vanzetta. Yeah. Send him off. Yeah, send him off, that's all right.
Yeah, Hearn's going off.
Yep, Hearn's gone. Harris got Vanzetta too.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. We haven't started yet, have we, Robin?
Reports. Who said it wasn't going to be tough?
We haven't started yet, Robin, have we? No, don't forget.
Are they going to send anyone off, I wonder?
You should.
Well, why not send them off? They got a yellow card and a red card. Why don't they send them off?
Capel's gone.
Capel's gone.
He's off.
Oh, what about a Hearn? Why didn't a Hearn go off? Why didn't a Hearn go off?
Right, we'll call this as we see it. Hang on, just we'll get it from the bounce.
I reckon McGear's going to... Yeah, Hearn's gone. Yep.
O'Brien's got Hearn. Hearn is off. Is he off? He's got to be off.
And so's Fear, I reckon.
Yeah, they're both been sent off. Hang on. Johnny O'Hearn.
Is he going off or not?
He's got to send him off.
Yeah.
No, he's probably reported for hitting him.
He's going off, isn't he?
He'd have to.
Surely.
No, he's not. The only one?
Mark Dow didn't do nothing anyway, that's
what
for
about,
sure.
Yeah, hang on, what's the referee?
Reserve umpire.
And we're about to start Grand Final 94. Daryl O'Brien gets us on the way. What you won't see is the action that happened before the bounce when Lee Capel was sent off for South Gambier. John O'Hearn, the captain coach of the Hamilton Magpies, also very lucky not to send off. And the opening kick will be to Mick Ryan, and the Demons attack to the right of screen, kicking slightly into the breeze. Vanzetta Park, we have Grand Final 94, Western Border League football on Channel 8, your local station. And Timmy Scanlon for South Gambier drives them deep into attack, kicking towards that southern goal. Players go up high, can't take the mark. Rook tried hard to get it out in front. South Gambier fumbled at that time, picked up and taken away by Rook. He's besieged. Brian Harris, hand passed in. Lollett's besieged as well. We'll get a free kick, David Lollett, and he'll take the free kick. Defensive side of the square, about to put the Hamilton Magpies into attack. They have the slight advantage of the breeze. It's more a cross breeze this afternoon. Comes towards number 27, Stephen Jewell of Hamilton. Willing hearts out there will be needed. Free kick picked out and will go to Hamilton. They'll kick from in front of the scoreboard and go long towards the left of screen. Favoured slightly by that breeze. It's blowing slightly towards their half-forward flank. Sensational start to the game. Bit of a brawl, and Lee Capel of South Gambier was sent from the field, and David Case, a number of players very lucky.
Well, I tell you what, Jim, Johnny O'Hearn and Darren Vanzetta both started that bit of altercation before they bounced the ball, and how they never got sent off the ground, it just staggers me, because O'Hearn and Vanzetta were definitely the instigators, and I suppose Capel come in and got caught retaliating.
Right, Glynn got the free kick, and it'll be Wayne Glynn to bring it in. In fact, it won't be. It'll be handed over to Craig Bates, I think, deep in that back pocket for the South Gambier side.
17 men is going to be hard now, Jim.
It is, and the odds not looking good for South. The kick by Lollett, who's a good handy player, into that left forward pocket. Bounces in front of Harris. Bates goes in that time, and it'll go over the line for a throw in. Deep in the left forward flank for Hamilton, who kicked to the left of screen. The black and whites opening moments, 94 Grand Final here on 8. And before the game, as we said, a bit of an all-in. And Lee Capel sent from the field, as David called it. A couple of Hamilton players very lucky not to be sent off as well before the bounce. The ball driven in front of this, the grandstand side for the both teams, and finally run over the line by number 14 for Hamilton is Brian McGinley, formerly of Casterton. David Case, a big start.
Well, Jim, it certainly wasn't the start that you or I expected, because I didn't think that either team was like that. I thought they were both football-playing sides. The Shepherding in the ruck here, and Hamilton relieve the ball, and they come across through the centre of the ground here. It's a play-on situation in the middle. The Magpies have got the ball here. It's in dispute in the middle of the ground, but umpire O'Brien has found a free kick, and the free kick will go to Richie Adderall, the youngster from South Gambier. Cross towards Craig Bates, back to Richie Adderall, but umpire Mark Dow has gone back and given Craig Bates the free kick.
In fact,
once
it's Matthew Fear, Dave, as he kicks with the left foot deep in towards that half-forward line. Ryan's behind, coming in behind him, Dion Rook.
And he's had a good start, Jim, Dion Rook.
And what a fine year he's had, the youngster too. Loads of talent and built like a Greek god.
Bit of a surprise in the ruck, Jim, and leaving Hoof off the ground.
Well, they probably want mobility, David, and I can understand it as he kicks in short. Nice pass, and Roger Bade comes in and takes the mark in front of the grandstand on the wing position. He's driven the Magpies into attack, long towards half forward. No one goes for that. Ryan could have marked and finally punched. O'Donnell can't get a touch that time as it ran away from him, and the ball will be thrown in slightly on the attacking side for Hamilton's player in trouble, number 27 for them, is Stephen Jewell. He's going off through the interchange. He's hurt his hand, and he'll be replaced. The Cape can't be for 15 minutes, so that's a blow to South Gambier. After that, all in at the start of the, well, before the bounce of the 94 grand final. They work it out of the centre very nicely. Hamilton, Glynn sitting back, and he'll take the mark. Hand pass on the Bates, and the Demons, cool in defence, move it towards that scoreboard side, the defensive side of the ground. The ball will be out of bounds over there, ready to put us back into play. Will be boundary umpire Jason Shepherd.
Mark Somerville's come on now, Jim, to replace Jewell, who went off injured. The ruck work now will be contested between Rook and Darren Sims here in front of the scoreboard. Rook gets front position, and I think we'll get a free kick because Sims pushed him in the back while on the ruck. So he's done a very good job. Rook comes across here to the dangerous Van Zetta in the middle of the ground. Van Zetta now with lovely hands across here to Wrench. Back to Van Zetta. The lovely pass out here in front of the grandstand wing where Bates contests the ball. Him and Matthew Fear now try to run it out. Matthew Fear's been held up, but he doesn't. The umpire doesn't play a free kick. Van Zetta, beautiful hands by Van Zetta, cross in ball here towards Hamilton. Shotty Stevens is in there in hand. Somerville's got the ball, comes in towards where the back line, but Big Mick Ryan gets back, and there's a runner-up in the Western Border League medal in Patrick O'Donnell, who clears the ball out here in front of the grandstand wing. But a push in the back will go the way of Hamilton here. Through the age, I can't pick up that player there.
Number 29 is Roger Bay.
Roger Bay, across the middle of the ground, and there's Dion Rook again.
Couple of important touches. Rook, as David called it, long towards half forward go the Magpies, but from behind, clever mark, Brian Harris. He was also involved in the skirmish before the game. And the mark taken for Hamilton this time by number 35. In fact, that's Craig Jervis out there. Went to play on, he's caught. They run him down. Here's a come back to Rook. Kevin Harris goes in on him. Sims was there to support. Kicking out was Peter Gafer. He chipped it away nicely to Van Zetta. Van Zetta running down that defensive. In fact, it's not Van Zetta. He'll bring it into Stevens, and Stevens will take the mark. Lollard it was. And Shotty Stevens from here would kick outside 50.
One of the best kicks in Western Border Football League, Shotty Stevens. Jim, and
could nearly kick the distance, Davis. You're going to nominate it. No score on the board yet. Opening moments, 94 grand final, sensational start. Action off the play before the ball was bounced, and Lee Cape will send from the field. Big kick, Stevens. Ryan got a fist to it. The runners wanted. They take it away. Bates cleverly got it back to Ryan, who followed up nicely. Hand passed on to Robbie Elliott. Elliott tries to hug the boundary line. The timing's not quite there. He didn't place it well. Free kick for out on the full will go to number 14, Brian McGinley. In with a hand pass to Van Zetta. Van Zetta's kick wobbles one in towards full forward. Players wanted a Hearns in front. He can't take it. Cleverly picked up and driven away by it. May have been Fear again. Players come out at 4. Hamilton that time. Caught was number 21, and that was McCruger. Back to Van Zetta. The boos of the crowd greet him. Kevin Harris. Long towards half forward goes Harris. Open spaces. The runners are wanted. Number 18 is Richard Attawell. Off the ground. Well done, Attawell, as he beat them for speed. And there will be a throw in.
What explosive pace there, Jim, by Attawell. He just come from nowhere, beat 2 players and got front position of the ball and was unlucky not to pick the ball up.
And of course that's the strength of the Demons in 94, as it has been for a number of years. Their pace on the ball. Harris got an important touch that time. There was some good defence, and yet we have no score in the Western Border League Grand Final. We've been playing about 6 or 7 minutes. Kick off the ground. Renato Prosperi Porta brings up the first one for the Demons, and that was against the flow of play. Hamilton had most of the attack, and they have the breeze slightly at their back. It's more a cross breeze, as we called it. But off the ground, Prosperi Porter, ever dangerous, ever quick, big goal.
Not a bad effort with 17 men either, Jim. They've pushed their players back. Peter Sims has pushed players back. They just got numbers at the ball and were prepared to run and put the ball in front of themselves. And a fine goal against the flow of play. 10 minutes where Hamilton have had the ball. South go down once and score. That's just the way that South Gambier have been playing all year.
Big opening goal in the Western Border League Grand Final for 94 by Renato Prosperi Porter, the rover for the South Gambier Demons, and that's the first score of the game. Ryan went hard, Rook did well against him, came towards Stevens, and a free kick picked out of this one, and it might be Kruger again. And chips away towards that defensive side. That's not where Hamilton should attack, I'll tell you now, David Case. Number 27 running on, Michael Frost. He's got plenty of speed. Terrible kick from Frost, and it will be out on the full, as it's called by Jason Shepherd, the boundary umpire. And the kick will come in.
You would have thought they'd be trying to go through Johnny Ahern, Jim, wouldn't you? As
well, it seems obvious. Ahern in front of Glynn and takes a big one. David Case nominated the man, and Johnny Ahern has taken the mark. The captain coach, he was involved in the skirmish as well. Off the play at the half-forward line for the Hamilton Magpies before the ball was even bounced. As we said, Lee Cape will send from the ground. A couple of others should have been, and Johnny Ahern to bring up the first score for the Magpies this afternoon. And you're watching all the action on 8, your local station. Ahern. Big kick, and it will fade to the right. It's only a minor score. First score for Hamilton is a behind. They trail the Demons, who are 1 goal. And David, I guess a pressure cooker start, and we're waiting for things to happen, but it may have settled.
It'll settle down now, I think, Jim. I think obviously it must have been a pre-planned tactic of Hamilton, perhaps to try and throw South Gambier off. And like, let's face it, they had to do something, didn't they, Jim? Because like 2 weeks ago, they were absolutely annihilated. So I suppose they had to try some sort of tactic, although South Gambier scored the first goal in the game.
And seemed to have settled, but it was a good scoring chance for the captain coach that time, Johnny Ahern. It didn't fall for him, because the kick was inaccurate. Kick in is nicely placed and nicely weighted, and Renato Prospery Porter, who kicked the first goal, the nuggety little rover. Speed to burn, Renato, and a nice kick into this wind too. Covers plenty of distance into the breeze. To the defensive side of the square for Hamilton. They lose control. Gafer coming off the ball. Harris, look out if he gets within range, this bloke. Into the open goal goes Harris, and there is the second goal on the board for South Gambier. Kicked by Kevin Harris, the veteran.
Totally unbelievable. Jim, how many players? South had 6 or 7 players running with the ball there. A beautiful tap on by, I think it was Timmy Scanlon, tapped the ball forward to Kevin Harris in the open, and they had 3 players in front of Hamilton there, gave Hamilton no chance whatsoever.
And 3 touches, the kick out marked by Prospery Porter. They took it through the centre, roved it well, and once the Ox gets onto those, it's shut the gate. Kevin Harris.
How many times you seen him kick goals like that over the last few years, Jim?
2 goals straight to Demons, 1 behind the Magpies, as again Daryl O'Brien gets us underway. Ryan got the touch, Van Zetto in hard on Robbie Elliott. Finally Lollett got the kick towards the half-forward line. Running loose out here is Patrick O'Donnell. The bounce was not kind. He goes in hard on that player out there, number 35, was Craig Jervis for the Hamilton side, and there'll be a throw in. Slightly attacking side, in fact it's on the half-forward flank, Hamilton. On the defensive side of the ground, so the Demons won't worry about it being out there. And you're watching the first quarter action on Channel 8, your local station. It's the Western Border League Grand Final of '94. Johnny Ahern goes to the ground and has given away a free kick. Mick Ryan has the ball, and it'll go back this time to Michael Frost, I think, for the Demons. Ahern wants to debate it with Ryan. In fact, I think Ryan instigated that little bit of discussion. Nothing untoward, and we belt the Demons into attack through Michael Frost. Up on that wing position, coming hard from behind the defence of Hamilton, goes to the boundary line, and again it will be thrown in.
Do you think if you was Hamilton, Jim, you'd be pushing Rook forward? Perhaps I noticed him and Stevens and Van Zetta both playing back. You'd think with one less, they'd be pushing those players
Well, I
forward.
thought I'd have Johnny Hoof on and have Rook up forward, because they have the breeze. Look how the wind took that ball from the umpire's throw-in, and going to the ground, number 18 was Richard Attawell. They finally work it out, the Demons. Ominous signs a little bit at the moment for Hamilton, even though it's early moments, as the Demons, 1 short, are running the ball beautifully into this breeze.
Free kicks seem to be going Hamilton's way too, Jim, so that means that South are at the ball fairly hard.
Just check the free kicks. Big kick in by McGinley back towards half forward. Who's sitting behind that? In fact, giving away the free kick, and Stevens has got it.
That's 9 free kicks to 5 now, Jim, so the free kick's definitely going Hamilton's way.
And Stevens, I think it is, will kick. No, it's not Stevens. It's kicked in short by, may have been Jervis again into that pocket, which is good play. Number 21, actually, Michael Kruger. It was Russell. How could I forget the veteran? Number 21, Michael Kruger with the ball now. That's what's important for Hamilton. From the pass from Trevor Russell. The ball is long, well-weighted kick. Ahern is caught behind. Ryan in front. Also number 38 was Matthew Fear. But Ahern gave away a free kick on Glynn. He'll switch play to Brian Harris, brother of the infamous Kevin. The kick out by Brian Harris, not good. Free kick downfield.
Very undisciplined by the coach and Johnny Ahern. Very undisciplined.
To Brian Harris. And Ahern, perhaps, as you say, trying to stir his side up and stir South up. As you say, David, I can understand the tactic a little. Ahern has mouthed off to Dow. Umpire Mark Dow and Johnny Ahern. He's very lucky to still be on the ground, Johnny Ahern, but...
Jim, he's trying to play a game that's not natural to him.
And the chip-in pass by Brian Harris goes to Robbie Elliott. He's not a lot of him. He's a thin sort of player. I'd be very careful, Johnny, as O'Donnell takes it and drives it towards half-forward in front that time. Attawell reads it beautifully and controls it, hooks into half-forward. The runners are wanted. Salmon's leading on the race for the ball. He gets a nice bounce. Here comes Frost. If he gets a bounce, it's another Demon goal. Frost pushed in the back, but I think it'll carry. It won't. He'll get the free kick, Michael Frost.
Their pace is really hurting Hamilton here, Jim. They look very, very slow, Hamilton. And, Jim, they don't look as though they've got any excitement in there. They're not playing with any sort of passion whatsoever.
Well, they tried the passion before the bounce of the ball, David.
Oh, but I'm amazed. Like, we're at the 15-minute mark of the first quarter, and I don't know. Hamilton players don't seem to be any sort of show any sort of excitement at any stage.
Kick by Frost is offline, I think. Is it, or is it a goal to the Demons? It's a goal by Michael Frost. How could I doubt you, Michael? 3 goals straight to Demons, 1 behind the Hamilton Magpies. And tell me about it, David. when Lee Capewell, he got the yellow card, so it's 15 minutes and he's back on.
That's exactly right, Jim.
When we come
so
to the
he's only got
14
about 3 minutes to go, and, and he should be back on the ground. But South Gambier have pushed back beautifully, and they've got numbers up, and they've run at the ball very, very well.
And Mark Dow, the umpire, now to get us back underway. David said we're approaching that 15-minute mark, and Lee Capewell can come back on. The Demons playing one short across their forward line. A shot of Peter Sims on the bench there. Of course, he's got a few problems with Capewell off, but the side have responded magnificently with the first 3 goals of the grand final 94. You're watching Channel 8, your local station. Ahern pull when he didn't have it by Glynn, and Johnny Ahern will take the free kick. The captain, coach of the Magpies, and still a few boos from the crowd for Johnny Ahern. That won't worry him. He'll
put this in the goal square too, Jim. A beautiful kick. Lovely kick by Ahern. But Hamilton have got no one back here. South Gambier had 5 players there, and Hamilton only had 3.
Well, McGinley's a loose player across the back line, number 14 for Hamilton, and obviously that gives them a bit of space in defence. You'd think their forward line could be a bit more open, but South have just closed them down.
When that ball went down there, Jim, we had Vanzetta, Lowett and Shotty Stevens and Rookie all back here, but they've got to get down where the ball is.
Stevens this time out to Vanzetta. The boos meet Darren Vanzetta. He was involved in the scuffle earlier. Patrick O'Donnell went and dropped the chest mark under pressure. He's had a big year, O'Donnell. He'll work himself out of this one with sheer pace. Russell won't run him down. Kick by O'Donnell is towards that defensive scoreboard side. This could be Adderall again. Beautiful vision to Bates. Bates will tidy up for the Demons and drive them into attack with a wobbly kick towards half forward. Darren Sims went at it. Frost is eluded by Gafer. Gafer will go defensively this time towards the scoreboard where he finds a player in, perhaps it was Kruger. Kruger kicks long towards half forward in front. Fear. Ryan is behind. They both touch it, so the play on call was made. This is Prospery Porter. Again, the quick leg. Now, Vanzetta has a kilometre to himself out here. He only has to deal with the boos of the crowd. He's got plenty of time, gets around an opponent, straightens up and drives it long back towards half forward. Mickey Ryan says thanks for the pass and drops the mark. He tries to go inside the Bates and casually, he walks over the boundary line.
The disposal's absolutely shocking, Hamilton. They really need to start to use the ball. They've got players loose right across half forward here. They're just bombing the ball away.
Ryan goes hard with Ahern, wins the tap. Here's Fear. Goes to ground, hand pass given out to number 30, Darren Cross. Cross lines up. Will this be the first major for the Maggies? It'll go across to the right. And from a difficult angle, Darren Cross, not a bad performance from there, but they wanted a goal, the Magpies. They have got the slight breeze. It's blowing slightly left of screen, deep into the forward pocket for the Magpies, and the Magpies trail 2 points. South Gambier 3 goals straight.
Jim, what do you think? What's your just a quick assumption of the game here now? Did you see Hamilton getting back into this game?
I can't. I could say, David, if I can take an analogy with athletics, if you line the teams up and have a 100-metre race, the first 10 players across would be South Gambier players.
That's exactly right.
Ominous for Hamilton.
Yeah.
But they're battling hard. This is Kruger. He's had a good start. Chips into Stevens, and this is within Stevens' range. Allowed to get away from Robbie Elliott. And Shotty Stevens. Greg Stevens, a former medal winner in the Western Border League, and a grand player for the Hamilton Magpies. Although he'll kick from about 50, he should be able to kick this. Greg Stevens, lovely kick off the boot, but unfortunately has all the distance, none of the direction, and is out on the full.
That's unusual for Shotty, because as I said earlier on, generally one of the best kicks in Western Border League.
And bringing it back into play will be number 22, Paul Mullen.
Jim, Richard Adderall had a fair impact on this game with his pace across that half-forward line. I think 3 or 4 times he's managed to pick the ball up loose and run it in. That's
what makes them so dangerous, David, doesn't it? The ball comes back in. They've got runners on every line. It makes it very, very difficult. Vanzetta got a loose ball, gave it to Harris, gave it away. Here's a chance this time for Harris again. That's brother Kevin from Brian. Goes across towards that defensive forward line again as the rain starts to come down. The wind starts to lift and the ball goes defensively towards the boundary line. But there's a free kick picked out. It'll go to Hamilton, and David Lollett will take it, number 8. And he'll kick from slightly right of the centre and put the Magpies deep into attack. Grand Final 94 on Channel 8, your local station. As Lollett kicks short, and he finds number 35 in Craig Jervis. He's also had a big start to this game, Jervis. But the Magpies want goals. Ahern's unsettled and will get a free kick. Glynn can't believe it, but Johnny Ahern put on a bit of an act. There was enough in it, I thought so. Got front position, and the umpire's always going to favour that, David.
Johnny Ahern should kick his first goal here, Jim, although right at this very moment the conditions are not real good with swirly conditions and rain. But Johnny Ahern, the captain coach of the Hamilton Football Club, about 25 metres out directly in front, and he should kick this goal and put Hamilton's first goal on the board for the 1994 Grand Final. Ahern staggers his way in, kicks off the boot, looks okay. It's all clear for one goal, and Hamilton get their first goal here in the 1994 Western Border Grand Final at Vansittart Park, and one that they've been really waiting for a long time for, Jim.
Yes, they worked hard to get it. The breeze is going their way, as we've said. In fact, I look at the flag as Lee Capewell comes back on for the Demons, and I think he's just waiting for recognition from the field umpires.
I think he can feel hard done by, Leroy, too. I think he was a victim of circumstances, Jim.
Capable to come back on, marked out to get us back underway. 3 goals straight, the Demons, 1-2 Hamilton. The Magpies trail, big cheer from the South Gambier contingency as Capewell comes back on the ground. I didn't think he did too much. I thought there was worse than Lee, but Lee got caught. And from that stalemate, Darryl O'Brien this time will bounce again. 20-minute mark of this, the first quarter. You're watching the highlights of the Western Border League Grand Final for 94 from Vansittart Park in Mount Gambier. O'Donnell sits under the loose kick, drops the mark again, but recovers. Nice left foot kick to that outer side of the ground. Frost sits under it. Jervis went hard on him, made it a good contest in the end, did Jervis.
It's been a good duel over there between Frost and Jervis, Jim. They're two very exciting players.
And, of course, the other wing, good duel too. We got Mark Winterfield on the young player Kruger, Michael Kruger. He's a good youngster, so there's plenty of talent out there for both teams. But what is ominous this stage for Hamilton, they definitely have the breeze. There's no question of that, blowing into their forward line. Yet they trail by 10 points at the 20-minute mark or 21-minute mark of this, the first quarter. And a free kick coming out of this will be taken by South Gambier. They'll go forward yet again.
Frost again, Jim.
Frost, as David called it, could have given the ball off the fair. Decides to kick from almost a true centre position. The wind holds that one up. In front was South Gambier, but it comes loose, picked up by Fear again, is it? And kicks it. No, in fact, it was number 15, Mark Winterfield, deep into that right forward pocket. A bit hard to pick him up with the rain coming down. And it will be a throw in deep in that right forward pocket for the Demons.
20-minute mark now, Jim. You would have thought that Hamilton would have liked to have had a couple more goals here to try to make a contest.
Well, they've got to lead at quarter time. There's no question of that. Sims went high. Brian Harris kicks from the pack and wobbles onto that defensive side. Luckily for Hamilton, gets a bounce and runs towards the boundary line, and they might be happy just to see it run over. Number 25, Alistair Wrench, who's had a good season. Wrench, he's a handy player back there. He sees it over the line, David. The
on-ball is doing very well for South Gambier. This ball's thrown in there, right in their forward pocket. Darren Sims is in there against Rook. Rook gets his hands onto the ball. It comes loose to where Brian Harris was. Lolat's got the ball now in front of him. He paddles the ball in front of him. Harris is in hot pursuit. The ball's cleared by Lolat, but it goes over the boundary line right here in front of the scoreboard, which reads South Gambier 3 goals, leading Hamilton 1-2. And we're at the 22-minute mark of the first quarter of the 1994 Western Border Grand Final.
5 kicks to David Lolat so far in the game, and he's been prominent. The little rover, he's had a lot against him. Prosper Porter, his immediate opponent, has also played very well for the Demons. In fact, kicked the goal, but David Lolat started well. Ryan's in front of Rook. The big man gets a thumping punch. Here's O'Donnell. He tries to feed it off. The Demons work it forward again. Patrick O'Donnell, look at him go. Leaves Van Zetter in his wake. Drives towards goal, but there's a free kick picked out behind the play. Advantage was not played. The ball will have to come back, and maybe Robbie Elliott, I think. When Patrick O'Donnell put that one through, by the way, kicked the goal. But the umpire had well and truly blown the whistle, and the Hamilton defenders weren't very interested. So
incidentally, too, Jim, Brian Harris has had 7 kicks and 3 handballs, so it's been a big quarter for Brian Harris too.
And he's a very underrated player, Brian Harris. We all tend to focus, and I must admit, on Kevin, his brother, who's a legend in Western Border League footy. But Brian Harris has fitted in very nicely into this South Gambier side. The ball comes in short, almost to Sims. Picked up cleverly and booted into attack this time by Winterfield. Across the face of that half-forward line it goes. The defence for Hamilton is pretty stout out there. Harris moved his body in. O'Donnell was in there to help. Number 6 was Tyrone Jones. He's grabbed number 1, Peter Gafer, by Kevin Harris. And the throw-in will take place right forward flank. In fact, it'll be a bounce.
Kevin Harris does a lot of the 1% things, Jim, don't they? Like it's a term they use in footy now, but he has a lot of blocks and shepherds and puts his body on the line all the time.
And he has a second and third effort, David, which really helps. Really helps. His brother Brian got a good bounce away from Rook. This will be a sensational goal. Harris fires on that southern goal, but he's across the face, and it'll go into that left forward pocket on the full. 11
possessions at the 25-minute mark. Not a bad quarter's effort for Brian Harris. The kick in now will be relieved by Hamilton. It'll be taken through the efforts there of Alistair Rents, the full back. He will have to kick this ball out quickly because we're at the 24-minute mark and Hamilton really need to score a couple of goals. wrench with the ball. There's nothing really on offer downfield. Left foot kick now, comes down over 60-metre mark, down to where Mick Ryan contests the ball with Rook. The ball runs loose here now, and Hamilton picked the ball up through their centre line here and drive it deep into attack. Matty Fear, here's Trevor Russell, the full forward. He's got the ball on his right foot. A nice kick by Russell, but brilliantly touched by Lee Capewell. The big man got himself beautifully, lunged the big right hand out and touched the ball right on the line. And Leroy's had his first touch, Jim. I think he'd be quite excited about that.
Well, it's his first touch of the footy. He's touched a few other things, but that was before the game started. That's why he got sent off, David. What a beautiful kick in, too, into that breeze. Kicks it long. Ryan again went for the punch, and there's a game plan already very obvious for South. Mick Ryan doesn't take a lot of marks overhead, big number 13, but he hits that ball on, and his running players know how to read him. As the rain gets heavier here at Vansittart Park, but it's a winner game. We'll enjoy the action no matter what as we come on quarter time. The Demons lead at 3 goals straight. Hamilton a 1-goal-3. They have the breeze. The breeze is strong. And South Gambier have done very well in it, playing one short for most of this quarter. The ball kicked wide by Hamilton. It comes to David Lollett, who's interfered with, and he will take a free
He's
or
had
the
a good
mark.
quarter, Lollett, Jim.
Lollett done very well.
Very well. Lollett's got the ball in the middle of the ground here at Vansittart Park now. Ahern runs to the face of the goal. The ball comes in. Ahern and Glenn contest. But big Mick Ryan's dropped back there. Matty Fear's got the ball. Beautiful to Robbie Elliott. They run the ball out through half back here now, in towards the Rat Crosby Porter. He plays on. Well tackled by Hamilton there. A good second effort there on Rat Crosby Porter by Elton Jackson, who done a fine job then and really run him down.
Jackson, big kick from this in front of the grandstand wing towards half forward, looking for the captain, Coach Ahern. Tidied up by Bates, got it to Fear. Fear onto Elliott. There he was, caught it, that's their pattern. Elliott from this defensive side of the centre, kicks towards the centre square. Free kick will go to O'Donnell. Patrick O'Donnell, runner-up in the best and fairest in the competition in 94. Slams one towards half forward, the runners are wanted. Here's a chance out there for Winterfield. Opposed to him is Kruger, what a battle they've had. Comes this time into Jervis, who's grabbed high, and Jervis will take the free kick. I think it's that young man. In fact, it may not be. It may be number 6, Tyron Jones, back there. And in fact, he'll kick it in from that defensive half-back line. It's not him because he made the lead out this side. We'll pick him up a little later, that player. Put it in towards half-forward. All South Gambier sitting behind Fear. He does well. Has a bounce. That's confidence in these conditions. Has a second. Doesn't come back to him. Finally gets it onto O'Donnell. He's got leg speed galore. He gets around a player as if he wasn't there that time. That was Bade. Kicks it in towards half-forward. Someone got a hand on it. Vansittart. A very unpopular man, Darren Vansittart.
Jim, I cannot believe the structure of the Hamilton Football Club's forward line. They have Ahern back here. He's got 2 players on him all the time, and they're still continuing to blaze the ball away. There's got to be a spare man somewhere.
From behind, Gafer went high. Comes the ground, Sims. Chance that time for Elton Jackson, tapped it on. Beautiful running play, Mullen. Mullen back towards half forward, in fact over that position, out of working hard Salmon. In with him Harris, comes back to Prospery Porter. Second goal, Renato. And Renato Prospery Porter puts his second on the board. It is all clear, don't worry about that. That's a goal to South Gambier. They go to 4 goals straight, 24. The Hamilton Magpies are 1-3-9.
And the South Gambier back line there have all run to congratulate each other. It was a wonderful effort by Matty Fear back here to run the ball out through Robbie Elliott. And young Paul Mullen come off his line, left his player, took the chair, took the ball, and consequently, Prospery Porter was on the end of it and scored a very, very good goal.
25-minute mark, David, and I concur with your comments about the structure of the forward line. Goodness me. Hamilton making it hard for themselves. No questioning their spirit. Number 6 coming hard. Tyrone Jones is in the ruck against Ryan. Here's Stevens. Got a kick out of the centre. Did it well. Bates went high. Big fist on the ball. Glynn. Bates. Tennis game out there. They call it aerial ping pong in parts. And Mullen. Hand pass wide. And he got it back this time to Winterfield. Adderwell, in fact, it was. The smother kick on Chart that time for South. Picked up by Vansittart. Vansittart put them deep into attack. He hangs onto the ball a long time. Lucky to get away with that. They try and work it forward. Well done, Darren Vansittart, as he backed up, got his kick in, but sitting behind Lee Capewell. And a very good mark under pressure from Trevor Russell, and immediately plays on. 10, 20, 30 yards goes Big Leroy. He'll run to the 50-metre defensive line. Over the top to O'Donnell. Watch him run with the footy. Off goes Patrick. 2 bounces. Tries to get around Debate and does it very nicely. In fact, it wasn't. It was Hoof. Big kick towards half forward. Prospery Porter in front. Ball comes loose this time to Richard Adderwell. Free kick will go Prospery Porter. And what a big game Renato's had to start the 94 grand final in this the first quarter. Already kicked 2 and drives it well into that forward line. Players go high, and back. The mark back there will be taken by number 25. Wrench wanted it. He's not paid. Kicked off the ground this time by McGinley towards the defensive side of the ground for Hamilton. And it will go over the line in front of Kevin Harris. And we're at about the 29-minute mark, or 28-minute mark, in fact, of this, the first quarter of the 94 Grand Final here at Vansittart Park on Channel 8, your local station. The
reason why Vansittart got caught in that last play, Jim, because he had no one to kick to.
Hoof and Ryan. Ryan got it. Went to ground. Jackson's in hard for Hamilton. Comes out. Loose ball picked up by Rook. He's grabbed. Sims did well on him. Comes to ground. Asprey Porter goes in hard and will get a free kick again. How many kicks Renato?
Must have had a few by now, Jim.
Kicked the 2 goals. 10 kicks.
10 kicks and 2 goals.
What a
Jim.
start to the game. Free kicks are about even. We'll check on that for you. Added Salmon goes hard, tapped it out. Was it a throw? It's allowed to go. Harris gets an up and under. Robbie Elliott runs onto this. He kicks a goal. If bounce is not kind, it'll beat him over the line. Gee, that was a hairline thing. If it comes back to Elliott, David, he just pops it on the boot.
13 apiece, Jim. 26 free kicks in the first quarter, and it just goes to show the umpires are going to get right on top of this. Boundary throw in. Sims and Hoof over the top. Rook punches the ball back towards the boundary line. Robbie Elliott leads the race for the ball, but unfortunately it goes over out of bounds at the 30-minute mark here of the first quarter. 26 free kicks, Jim. Obviously the umpires have decided they're going to get right on top of this game right from the word go.
That is a lot for a first quarter of footy, but as you called it, David, there was that melee before the bounce of the ball where a couple of players were spoken to. Lee Capel sent off. The Demons go forward. Left foot kick by Adderwell is just offline and through for 1 point only. As we said, that melee before the game when Lee Capel was sent from the ground. They played one short for 15 minutes, South Gambier. He's back on and they currently lead and lead it reasonably well under the conditions. 4-1 to 1-3, and we approach the 30-minute mark of this, the first quarter.
4 goals to 1 in this quarter, Jim, is obviously a big break at this start of the game, with this piece of the game, with the conditions the way that it is.
Wrench, big kick, covers almost to the wing position. Ryan will have to go down for it. He was well supported, and they finally work it out this time. Frost went inside towards O'Donnell, and O'Donnell gets the mark. Little lucky, but Patrick, it's yours. And he'll drive them into attack. Chips away short. He's got Ryan. In fact, this could be Frost lurking out here. He is.
You've got players everywhere, South Gambier now, as Frost brings the ball inboard, looking for Salmon on a lead. He's too far back, however. The ball hits the ground now. Adderwell's in there fighting hard for the ball, but the siren beats Prosperi Porter again. And we have here at quarter time in the 1994 Western Border Grand Final, South Gambier 4-1, leading Hamilton 1-3.
Excellent. Louise, can you just do your quarter-time tallies and kicks for me? Just write the number and I'll pick it up from where you...
Guys are sorting the reports out, I'd say. They've just gone down to advise Leroy and who they've reported.
I'll tell you who got in there quick, Brian Harris too.
Yeah. Hope West play Hamilton or South first up next year. Only be a 15-goal loss.
Yeah, you'll get it over there. Okay, here we go. And we start the second quarter of Grand Final 94 in the Western Border Football League from Vansittart Park here in Mount Gambier. Mark Dow getting us underway, and a much tamer start to this, the second quarter, after the dust-up before the ball was bounced in the first. Making hard work of that was Vansittart. He's grabbed, didn't have it, should get a free kick, and Michael Frost, that was very crude on Darren Vansittart. And the Magpies will be the first into attack in this, the second quarter, trailing at... by 16 points at quarter time, 4-1 to 1-3.
Need to make a statement now, Hamilton, very quickly. Jim, would you agree with that?
They do, and they need the first couple of this quarter. The Demons get it, I think. We might put down the glasses even at this early stage, David. Stacks on the mill, as they say traditionally, and it's the forward attacking side of centre for the Hamilton Magpies. And David Lollett comes up with the ball, and what a first quarter he had. Lollett got lots of possessions, had I think 6 or 7 kicks, did well. Ball to that outer side, number 22, Paul Mullen for the Demons. He's run down. Stevens was in there, finally jumping on the ball, Hamilton. And they might tie it up, and we might get a bounce out of this as they lock it in on the defensive side.
Got to pay credit to Darryl O'Brien and Mark Dow for the way they handled that prematurely. I thought they did a very good job and just got on and umpired the game as though nothing had happened.
And they got on with the game very quickly, that's
yes,
right.
They
made the decision on Capewell. A couple others a bit lucky not to be sent off, but the game settled down from here. Darren Van Zetta to Shotty Stevens is good play. Stevens works the ball in towards half forward. Ahern in front, clever tap from behind. Should have made more of that one that time. Hamilton, Jewel fumbled, came to ground, kick away by Capewell, back towards Ryan. That was interesting. Mick comes to ground. The players, again, will tie it up with a free kick to Hamilton. In fact, a free kick to South Gambier. Mark Winterfield, I think. Oh, kicks into the man on the mark, unforgivable. Comes out to Johnny Hoof, back towards half forward from Hoof for Hamilton. Sitting under a duel that time, worked hard, cleverly read by Russell, but a free kick will go the way of South Gambier through Lee Capewell.
Good positioning there by Mark Dow. Picked up that free very early.
Capewell from the defensive 50-metre arc, kicks it over the centre square. Almost a good mark to Peter Gafer. Came short, they work it out through Rook. Hand pass goes wide. Here's a chance for McGinley for Hamilton. Driving the ball into that wind on this, the grandstand side. It stands up in front of the Hamilton player in number 18 in Struthers. And there'll be a throw in front of the grandstand here at Vansittart Park. And the crowd under the condition, David.
Very good, Jim. Very good
not
indeed.
Not too bad at all. Hasn't been a good day all day here in Mount Gambier. And considering South Gambier have 3 teams in the grand finals, I guess the crowd not too bad. From behind, it'll be spoiled by Glynn. To ground it comes 21 as David Chant. And in fact, it'll be Chant who'll get a free kick for South Gambier. On the defensive side of centre, as down comes the precipitation yet again. Chant kicks across ground. Prosper Porter in front, punched away from him from Lollett. Beautifully read by Elliott. The chip on is to O'Donnell. O'Donnell had half a metre on McGinley and it was enough. Beautifully weighted kick by Elliott. Chipped in short, O'Donnell's not a good one. Prosper Porter made the running. He was closely attended by Alton Jackson for Hamilton. And deep in the forward line as the rain comes down and the Magpies trail the Demons by 16 points.
Conditions very ordinary now, Jim, as the ball's shining. We can hardly see the players. Johnny Hoof goes with Darren Sims. The ball springs loose. Robbie Elliott leads to the ball. Continues the ball in front of him. Lollett's in there. Gets in there and gets trapped by a beautiful tackle by Elliott. And very well rewarded by Richie Adderall, who's had a big impact on this game. But this time, his skill's not so good as Roger Bade marks the ball and will relieve the pressure for Hamilton. Bade comes out this grandstand side. Frost is in there, but a very good mark taken there by Craig Jervis. Jervis now. Sorry, it was...
yes, Jervis, you called it well, David.
And the ball comes now down here to where Darren Cross, who played so well last week, got the ball. Cross now comes in towards where the ball's in loose. Johnny Ahern, the captain coach for Hamilton, gets the ball back inwards. Mick Ryan busts his way through the pack. The ball's sprung free again. Craig Bates on that left foot now. Turns the ball back in. Frost is in here against Groves and against Jervis. Richie Adderall once again. Beautifully done by Adderall. Comes out here towards where Frost gets the ball down to 7. Got his hands on it wonderfully well, but couldn't take the ball. And Hamilton relieved the ball here, deep in their forward line. But what a magnificent pick-up by Richie Adderall there to get the ball across to Michael Frost.
And again, they were looking for the side player, David, weren't they? The running side player, South Gambier, they use it very well. But good defensive stuff in the last line of defence by the Magpies too. From behind, it's Hamilton. Hoof tried to get it to Stevens. Kevin Harris went hard on him. Darren Sims is there, and finally Daryl O'Brien, the umpire, wins out. He says, I'll start it again, gentlemen. Attacking side of the ground for South Gambier in their forward line as Ryan tapped it to Van Zetta. That's unlike Mick. Gill was number 3. He went hard at it. Finally got a hand pass out. The boundary line should win this. Or Mullen kept it in, which was good. Russell closes him down. Brian Harris bends over it. There's not a lot happening there. Trevor Russell says, Brian Harris, you're being a little bit aggressive, but nothing in it because Daryl O'Brien is right on the scene.
8 or 9 goals will nearly win this grand final, Jim, with these conditions if they keep up. It's very wet and slippery, and that 4 goals on the board for South Gambier must look very, very huge to the Hamilton footy side.
Yeah, the next one's important. Hamilton have to get it. The Demons have the lead, 16 points to the boundary line that time when number 29, Roger Bade, and it was good defensive stuff. But the Hamilton Magpies need to work it forward. They'll be trying to do that, and boundary umpire Jason Shepherd puts us back into play. Mick Ryan's in front of Johnny Hoof. Nice palm Ryan to Elliott. Excuse me, David Case, while I enjoy the champagne stuff from Ryan to Elliott. Towards that half-forward line, well over that it goes. Salmon's got the bounce if it'll sit for him, but they close him down in these conditions. The ball's still in play. Kept in play by South Gambier, and they'll try and work it back against the conditions. Paddy O'Donnell goes hard. He couldn't mark it almost. Would have been a screamer in these conditions. A slips catch almost, O'Donnell, and finally will have a bounce. Gee, that was
real
a
efforts there by one over here by Ryan, and a good effort by young Tim Scanlon and Richie Adderall on the other side of the ground there, and a beautiful pass by Robbie Elliott.
You could see Robbie Elliott's eyes light up when Ryan palmed that. It's obviously a bit of a set play, and Robbie just said, "Thank you, Mick, I'm going into attack."
I reckon you and I could have nearly got a kick off that palm, Jim.
Well, speak for yourself, Dave. My hamstrings these days. Kicked away by Rook. Dion Rook thumps one towards that defensive side, and you'll see the free kick come back for South Gambier to Robbie Elliott because he's playing on Greg Stevens. That was out on the full. So Stevens and Elliott having a fair battle. Robbie Elliott starting to exert some influence on the game. Greg Stevens has played very well. We'll compare Stevens' kicks for you. In fact, he's had 5 kicks and 2 marks, Greg Stevens, but the man with the ball, Robbie Elliott, David?
He's had 10 kicks, Jim, and he's had something like 2 or 3 handballs, so he's done very, very well.
He's doing 2 to 1, so Elliott's got the best of that as he drives into half forward. Rook from behind, good spoil. Ryan did enough to keep it going for South Gambier. Run down that time beautifully, number 22, Elton Jackson, and a free kick will go against him, David, and it will be taken by number 26, Timmy Scanlon.
Ex-Millicent boy, Jim, only very young, not very much experience for Timmy Scanlon, but he's come into this South Gambier side, and I know that Peter Sims rates Timmy Scanlon very, very high, and for a young lad, 6'1", 6'2", to play on the wing, it's a nice luxury for South Gambier to have. Scanlon comes in now, he's 50 metres, out, puts the ball to the goal face, but it's touched and off hands and goes over for a minor score for South Gambier, and their score now moves along to 4-2, leading Hamilton 1-3.
Yeah, nice kicker considering the ball very heavy now by Scanlon, and I guess the coaches could have conferred before the game, David. Would you have liked to have had a new ball at the start of each quarter?
I think it would have been nice in these conditions, Jim, but obviously that agreement wasn't reached.
And I guess it may not have helped Hamilton to have that. I reckon if they can slow South down any way they can, that's what they want to do. Make it a grind, and it is a grind at the moment. That's their best chance. Kicked in by Harris very quickly. Salmon was punched away. O'Donnell was lurking loose. He pops it on the right foot, and the crowd will tell you the story behind that Northern goal. A very handy one to South Gambier. That's really the one Hamilton wanted. But took them almost 9 minutes to get it, so good defensive stuff by Hamilton. And 5-2, 32 of the Demons, 1-3-9 are the Magpies.
I seem to remember Patrick O'Donnell doing that a couple of years ago here, Jim, when he kicked 4 goals like that, and he just sweated off the pack, then the ball come to the ground. O'Donnell was the only one to read the ball properly, and as casual as you like, with tremendous skill, just pops through a very, very easy goal.
So we'll get underway from that centre again with Mark Dow, umpire Mark Dow in his first grand final, and Darryl O'Brien also doing his first. The boundary umpires today we've called Jason Shepherd. Andrew Simpson is the other lad, and the goal umpires Alan Spokes and Brian Jacobson. It's grand final 94 here on 8 your local station. From Vansittart Park, the Western Border League grand final. Hamilton and the Demons, away they go again. Hamilton into that forward line. The ball knocked away by Bates. It comes to Capewell. Good defensive stuff, Capewell to Mullen. Mullen gives it wide to Glynn. Good defensive football and team football by the Demons. They boot it wide towards Winterfield. He's got to sit that time on Kruger. Knocks it in towards Mick Ryan, who tried to tap it on. Good following up Winterfield. Finally, the Hamilton Magpies shut it down through Stevens. He's grabbed, and there will be a ball up. Umpire Darryl O'Brien calls for the bounce, and the way they work it out of defence is cohesion, David.
Actually magnificent. Bates, Glenn, Capewell, Paul Mullins as Shepherd was superb back there to clear the passage for the ball to come through very quickly for South Gambier.
And again, they tie it up. This is Renato Prospery-Porter. He's pulled to the ground, and there will be another ball up. Number 29 got him, Roger Bade, and he wasn't getting away from Roger that time. Renato, who's kicked 2 goals this afternoon. Ball knocked on by Ryan. Geez, had some hits. Goes towards McGinley, and of course Brian McGinley's played in the grand final sides before with Gaston and David. He
would not be, at this stage, Brian would not have very good memories of Vansittart Park, Jim, I don't think.
Throw in front of the scoreboard, outer side of the ground. By boundary umpire Andrew Simpson. Ball comes to ground. O'Donnell getting plenty of touches now. Patrick, he's caught in the slippery conditions, gets it onto the left foot. Glollett grabbed someone, didn't have the ball. In fact, he did. And number 18, it will be Richard Attawell, the pacey Attawell. Towards half forward, over that position. Sims has got front position. Gafer went from behind, but Sims grabbed it. And the youngster Darren Sims, a very, very important kick and mark this time. 5-2, 32 to Demons currently. The Magpies are 1-3-9. And he'll kick from about, well, it's a good 30 metres. Heavy ball, wet conditions, needs to start at left. If he can jag this one, a good start to the second quarter, but he's missed to the right. Didn't allow enough, 1 point only, and so it's a 4-goal lead to South. They're 5 goals, 333. The Demons and the Hamilton Magpies,
look
139.
very dominant, Jim, don't they? They look very, very dominant all over the ground.
The game's been virtually played in one half now, David.
That's exactly right. Their centre square is really good. Their forward line structure is very, very good indeed. Hamilton now will bring the ball back out again, and the ball comes out towards the half-back line for Hamilton now. The ball, Mullins is in there, but Andrew Gill's got the ball on the bottom of the pack, hits the ball out again. Mullins is still in there fighting along with Mick Ryan. The ball's still in dispute, comes across to Timmy Scanlon. Scanlon marks the ball on his own here. He's got Darren Sims to his left if he wants him, but he comes wide now to Wizard Winterfield. Adderall's in there, so is Harris, but the free kick will go the way of Elton Jackson here in the back line for Hamilton. Jackson now relieves the pressure, kicks down towards the middle of the ground, looking for his captain, coach, and Ahern. Glenn's in there, punches the ball to the clear. Trevor Russell picks the ball up on his left foot. The ball's driven forward here down towards Hamilton's half-forward line, and it's over towards the boundary line and tapped over on the 50-metre mark here of the Hamilton forward line.
Under the conditions, a lot of free kicks as you'd expect as boundary umpire Andrew Simpson gets us underway again. The free kick's running 20-15 in favour of South Gambier as Russell knocked it out. Getting onto his boot may have been Jewel that time, up and under. Sitting under it, Robbie Elliott, and the centreman getting back in defence. He'll kick it wide to Michael Frost. The bounce will just not favour him. It ran past him, but he likes to use his speed. Keeping with him was that time very well indeed was Jervis, who did a good job. Finally, Frost gets it down towards half forward. Over the head that time it went. Here's a chance for Jackson. Hoof goes back to support him. He does it well. Tapped out into direction this time of Bade. Bade has run down as he got it towards number 1 in Peter Gafer. And Kevin Harris makes sure Gafer is going nowhere. And this time the
under pressure all the time, Hamilton. South's forward line's working very hard in keeping the ball in their area, Jim. The ball about to be thrown in again here. It'll be Huff and Darren Sims now. Sims at the back gets his left hand to it. Frost is in there for South Gambier. Johnny Hoof's in there again. Hits the ball free. Shotty Stevens comes in. Elton Jackson's picking up a few possessions now. Kicks the ball down here where Robbie Elliott and Trevor Russell and Chant go for the ball. Russell goes in hard at the body, but the ball's carried over the boundary line and out of bounds on the full, Jim. Well, look at that. Must come off one of the Hamilton footballers.
That's a hard call.
It's going to go to Robbie Elliott. I think it must have come off Trevor Russell's foot there because Robbie Elliott's got the free kick here right in front of this huge crowd which is gathered here in front of the shelter at Vansittart Park.
Jason Shepherd, the boundary umpire, made the call. Robbie Elliott did get a fumble, but he finally ends up with the free kick. Back towards that wing position it goes. O'Donnell went high. Rook got a beautiful feed to Lollett. That was good play from Ruckman to Rover. Here's a chance of Hearn. Didn't take it, should have. Ryan outbodied him. Prospery Porter got away from Jervis enough to put it into the running player who is Frost. Don't give this guy a metre because he'll make it into 10. Beautiful pick up. Kicks around the body towards the forward pocket. Salmon was hard against that time Wrench, and the ball will roll over the boundary line. Mark Dow says nothing in it. Salmon wanted a free kick. The crowd, the South Gambier crowd anyway, also wanted one. Mark Dow saw nothing in it. The throw in deep in the forward line, right forward pocket for the South Gambier Demons.
Very ordinary effort by Johnny Ahern at centre half forward there, Jim. Should have made something more of that.
Well, you look to your captain coach to lift you, don't you, David?
Exactly right.
He let himself and his team down that time. Nice play by Jervis as he got it onto the right boot. Kicking towards the centre. O'Donnell, danger time for Hamilton. O'Donnell blasts from outside 50. It'll carry the square, but it is way offline and bounces before the boundary line and over the line and out. In fact, Patrick, you could have done more with that one. You needed to kick it to the left pocket. Instead, you've ended up in the right pocket, and that's the defensive side for the Magpies.
Kick in now in towards Elton Jackson, and so I think it's Elton Jackson. Now, it might be Roger Bade who's taken the ball low down. Bade now will relieve the ball, comes out here towards where Timmy Scanlon, who's had a fine quarter, has marked the ball inside the 50-metre mark. Timmy Scanlon now will drive the ball deep for South Gambier in the way of Darren Sims. Darren's underneath the ball. The ball comes to ground. It's in dispute here. Sims fights hard for the ball. Picked up by Tim Scanlon. Scanlon has a quick shot on goal, but it goes through for a one minus score, which takes South Gambier to 5-3, leading Hamilton 1-4. And South Gambier are certainly dominating this game at the 15-minute mark of the second quarter.
They are indeed, as Wrench will bring the ball back into play for the Hamilton Magpies. Big kick by Wrench towards that defensive side. Players go high. Robbie Elliott read it beautifully from behind, but hoofed it enough to get the ball, the big ruckman, and tie it down. Finally, they work it clear, Hamilton. Stevens would have given it to Lollett, decides to kick himself to half forward in front. Fear. Ball bounces out of his arms because it's very wet and slippery. Glynn did enough to kick it out of the danger zone. Finally picked up and driven forward by Jewel. Jewel with the hand pass out wide. It's driven by Hamilton, but very poorly indeed that time. And the free kick will go to South Gambier deep in their defensive zone now. The Demons are leading it. They lead 5-4 to 1-3, but the Magpies are making it hard, and the conditions also helping them as a change comes. Scanlon off, and Telford will come on for the Demons.
Had a good first 10 or 15 minutes, Timmy Scanlon, and obviously might be just a little bit tired, and Peter Sims has seen the chance to bring Brenton Telford on. Dion
Rourke getting in defensively to mark on that outer side defensive wing. Chip in towards the centre. Frost got in quickly. Too fast for Gafer. Coming over the top, was it Sims there? Frost again gave away a free kick.
Shotty Stevens.
Now he should drive it long because he's a beautiful kick of the footy. The former medalist kicks it to this attacking side, but not well directed by Greg Stevens. Patrick O'Donnell takes the mark, runs onto the left foot, boots it towards the attacking side. Telford on the ground will get his first touch, but he'll run out of space, and the boundary umpire says yes. Jason Shepherd says yes, I'll have it and I'll throw it in. On the wing position, slightly forward for South Gambier, and we've played 17 minutes of this, the second period, or second quarter. Calling the wrong game at the moment, and Hamilton boot it forward through Elton Jackson. Sitting under it, all South Gambier defence, and they do it very well through fear. Very solid youngster, this one, impressive. Left footer. Delightful over that centre wing. Rook is front position. Telford came from behind, beautifully read by Attawell. They run him down, well done by Hoof. Kicked in short by Jervis, punched away that time by South. Through the agency of 21, David Chart. He copped one for his trouble too. Hamilton go forward, it's out in the forward pocket. 14 kicks to Patrick O'Donnell, Jim, and 12 kicks to Robbie Elliott. So this just goes to show you the dominance of the midfield of South Gambier. And we'll compare that to their opponents. Stevens has had about 8 kicks, I think, for the
boundary throw in here now, right in front of that huge crowd down there. Johnny Hoof will contest along with Darren Sims. The ball runs loose here. Lowett comes for the ball now, gets his hands on the top of it. Stevens is in there, but Prospery Porter depth kick the ball off the ground. Stevens still in there. Robbie Elliott with a nice little give. Kevin the Ox Harris now gets it out. Frost taps it on towards Prospery Porter, ex-Glencoe teammates. Prospery Porter in the clear now. Nice little chip into the big fella and Mick Ryan. And Mick Ryan now must be playing at centre half forward, releasing Darren Sims to centre half to onto the ball. Ryan drives deep. Brian Harris has got the sit. The ball runs loose here, and Hamilton will hit it over for a point through the services of Alistair Wrench.
And behind the play, David, while you're making the call, a couple of players exchanging pleasantries. Roger Bade and Kevin Harris involved. Nothing too much in it. Still a bit of feeling in the game, and of course the conditions not ideal for footy as the wind blows to the left of screen and the rain has eased just for the moment. As the kick in by Wrench is well placed, and Hamilton will drive it out of this defensive line. Can't quite pick him up under the conditions. Suddenly players, when the hair gets wet, they all look alike, David. As the kick, it might have been Jackson, kicks towards the wing. That is definitely Dion Rourke, but he couldn't take it. The kick long by McGinley. Interchange, Mark Lane comes on, and Michael Frost comes off for South Gambier. The ball worked by Hamilton towards their half-forward line. Not a lot happening out there just at the minute.
Fairly good ploy by Peter Sims here to bring both Frost and Scanlon off, because they had a fairly high work rate in the first part of this quarter, and he'll need their legs in the second half, and I'll give Mark Lane particularly a run because it's his first match for a while in A-grade. Ahern's got the ball now, plays on through centre half forward. 40 metre kick in towards the goals, but very wasteful. Hamilton have no one back there, and that man Capel, who is undoubtedly the best fullback in Western Border Football League, will relieve the pressure for the South Gambier Football Club.
Well, it's an interesting move by Ahern. You know, his Kruger led right, Ahern kicked it left.
What about the 70 metre kick here, Jim, which is out in the way of... it's come right to the scoreboard front side here without being touched. Had to have travelled the best part of 80 or 90 metres, I think, Jim, by the time it bounced. And once again, the ball's just been cleared, and South Gambier into attack again.
I think South would want another couple before half-time. They've had the breeze. They've only kicked the 1 goal this quarter. So defensively, you'd say, well done, Hamilton, as they try and work it forward again. Shotty Stevens goes hard at the football. Kick number 10 for Stevens. Long back towards half-forward. Who's coming out in front? Fear went hard. Took his own man in chant. Came to Elliott. Danger man for Hamilton as Elliott drives long from the centre. Brian Harris sitting under it. Salmon came hard. Finally to Gafer of Hamilton. Boots it wide. Jervis has had a terrific battle on this wing with the opponents. Frost is off the ground. He's got Lane now. Making a run at the ball this time for Hamilton was number 30 in Darren Cross. The ball's given back by Lane and over the boundary line for a throw in.
Nice clean pick up by Mark Lane there. Big man sat on the bench for over a quarter and a half. It's hard to come on and get into the game, but he picked that ball up very cleanly. Shotty Stevens has come into the game now too, Jim, which is helping Hamilton a little bit.
From behind, Hamilton try and work it out through Jewell. to ground. Stevens, a kick again, maybe number 12, towards half forward. The bounce is cruel to everyone. They need their defenders back there, South. They've got them. Loose ball could favour Hamilton here as they tap it round. Lee Capel comes hard at it, picked it up, and Ahern let him get away again. Back towards that attacking side as the ball eludes Attawell. Bouncing behind to Jackson. He's got some space. This way, that away. Back on the left foot towards that defensive side. Will it carry in front of Winterfield? It won't, unfortunately, for Hamilton. And Winterfield will drive them back towards the centre of the ground. Ahern, rather, it was Stevens who went one-handed. Harris is on his opponent hard. Knock on by Ryan. Over the head of Salmon. Back it comes to Gill. This way again goes Gill, straight down the middle he wants to go, and he does. Behind the pack chart was held by Russell. Trevor Russell's had a terrible day. Kicked in short, Mark Lane. Should get a favourable bounce, recovers well. Spins out of trouble, chips away to Brian Harris. Lead by Telford. Look out, 2-on-1. They need to tie it up. McGinley does very well in defence because he was looking against the odds that time. If Telford had got loose, he could have given it on to Harris, and maybe a score coming up for South Gambier. Good defensive work, Brian McGinley. Very
well done by McGinley. He beat two players. Yeah, the ball thrown in right on the 50-metre mark here. Mick Ryan is contesting the ball for South Gambier. Stevens, who's had a power of touches in this quarter and has certainly fought his way back into where the game's been played very well here. Darren Cross gets possession of the ball. Still in there is Jervis. Gets the ball underneath him now. South Gambier tackled very, very well. The ball comes here towards young Paul Mullen. The ball runs free for Hamilton now, and they should relieve through their back line here down towards where Russell and Chant go together. Russell's got the ball in front of him. Here's an opportunity now for the veteran if he can pick it up. He can't seem to bend his back down though. The ball's out of bounds here, right in front of the crowd, and Trevor Russell didn't seem to be able to get down to the ball there, but just a little bit of bad luck for Trev.
Yes, if he gets it in that sort of situation, such a beautiful kick, he can drive on goals without much doubt at all.
Brian Harris has left the ground too, Jim, and just gone straight down to the room, so must have a minor problem there.
Okay, so the Demons have to worry about that one. Good work to get out of trouble that time, Somerville. He's on the ground and finally comes over the boundary line. Somerville for Hamilton, fresh player on. And a throw in to take place. Deep into attack for the Hamilton Magpies. They've only got the one goal on the board, and we go towards the 25-minute mark of this second term of Grand Final 94. Stevens has grabbed and tackled well that time by Mark Winterfield. Players go in, defensive stuff. Free kick given to Hamilton, and it might be Johnny Ahern, the big man, the captain coach. In fact, it's not. It's Trevor Russell, the veteran, who played in their last Grand Final winning side in 1981. That was the Grand Final replay. And Russell will kick from about 25, heavy ball. But for Trevor Russell, this shouldn't be much problem. And the second goal of the game for Hamilton, and one they need coming into half-time.
13 kicks to Shotty Stevens too, Jim, so he's fought back really well.
A lovely kick from Trevor Russell too, David, and that's the second one for the Maggies. They go to 2 goals, 3-15. South Gambier 5-5-35.
In the last 5 minutes, Hamilton's work rates picked up very, very good, Jim. Stevens has done a fine job in the middle of the ground here and has many, many positions. Gill's picked up possessions. I see Van Zetta's back in the middle of the ground now, and McGinley, Bade and Jones have worked very, very hard down the back line. And I think Hamilton now is starting to finally have just a bit of influence on this game. And if they can go in with one more goal before half-time, this could be very, very interesting after half-time.
Yeah, you called it, David. They want the next one, and they want it now. Going in on half-time. We're over 25 minutes in the second. Comes to Chant. In fact, it was Fear. Left foot kick by Matty Fear will fall into the arms of Scanlon, who's back on. Chips away to half forward. They try and work it to Salmon. He hasn't had... Yes, he's got it this time. I was going to say hasn't had much of a game so far, but persistence pays off. Beautiful kick from Scanlon, number 26, hitting Adam Salmon on the chest.
Propped it up very well, Jim, didn't he? Just set the ball up beautifully and let the wind drift it right into the arms of Salmon.
Now, it's an important kick for his club this time, Salmon. Full forward, you'd expect to get it. Russell got one at the other end. Adam Salmon starts at left. The wind will bring it back. It will not bring it back enough. It's offline, through for 1 point. 5-6-36, and the oohs and the ahs of the South Gambier supporters tell the story, David.
Yes, I think if South had they'll look like they're going to answer very quickly there, but now Hamilton will just relieve the ball out here. This possession will need to come off, Jim, because South got numbers there. They get away with it now through Tyrone Jones. He kicks the ball down to where Robbie Elliott, and really there was no place to centre the ball, so it's late part of the quarter. Should have really kept the ball to this grandstand side and try to work it in perhaps a little bit further down the ground.
I just cast my eyes back to the half-forward line for Hamilton, where Johnny Ahern just put his hands on his head when he saw that happen. A little far out, I think, for Robbie. Moves in, starts with the big screwy. Did I say a little far out? You have got no idea what a kick that was. That is a heavy, wet ball. And
Have a look at the 20 players.
Go to Robbie
Every
Elliott.
single player, Jim, has come to the middle of the ground, and Robbie Elliott punched the air with both hands there. Only a player of the calibre of Elliott could do that with a wet ball, Jim.
The screwy, boy oh boy, what a kick.
And they said there was no place for it in footy, Jim.
Heavy ball, it's the way to do. You get onto them and they just travel. 6-6-42 the Demons. That's the one they wanted going in on half-time. The Magpies at 2-3-15. They've battled very hard, Hamilton, only allowing South to get to 2 goals so far in this quarter with the breeze. They've got 1 into it themselves. It's been competitive, but the conditions haven't helped South. But the Hamilton Magpies, they're making a game of the 94 grand final. O'Donnell works in hard. Jules had a fairly good game. He's tackled from behind by Kevin Harris and giving away the free kick that time. Darryl O'Brien makes the call. Rook kicking wide to the attacking side in front. It's spoiled beautifully by Mullen. Finally comes to Jervis. He's a very good player.
Had a great
Boots the ball back in towards the forward pocket, and he finds Michael Kruger on the lead for Hamilton.
Haven't seen much of Rookie, Jim. He's playing at centre-half back now, I think, for Hamilton.
Kruger long towards the goal square. Where are you, John Ahern? From behind almost. Beautifully read Prospery Porter. And they work it out of the fence again, but the kick is not a good one from Renato. He kicks it out of bounds on the full under a little bit of pressure, but it's a very difficult kick back from there for Hamilton.
Well on early into time on now too, Jim. So
Andrew Gill will bring it back, David. And of course, the Magpies, maybe they'll get the last scoring chance of this first half. And it'll be a handy one. They trail currently by 27 points.
Shoddy again, Jim.
Stevens left-footed goal in the goal square. I think it's fair. Play on, they say. Chant it was. Got the ball wide. And they work it out. Robbie Elliott at both ends of the field to O'Donnell. Look out, Magpies. Don't let them get a run on here. Long O'Donnell towards half forward. Beautiful leap by Gafer. Couldn't take control. Kevin Harris roves it well. Got it back cleverly towards, I think it is Frost, is it? No, maybe Scanlon.
Free kick, Kevin Harris, Jim. Too high over the shoulder once Kevin tried to hit the ball back. Kevin's now got the ball in the middle of the ground. He looks for the good lead here by Salmon. The ball comes down here now, and it will be relieved by Tyrone Jones. The South Gambier players in there through Telford, and Salmon. Richard Adderall's got a chance now to tap the ball to Kevin Harris. Hamilton now coming out through Tyrone Jones, who's done a good job because he backed up very well. That man O'Donnell again, though, across the half-back line here, centres the ball. It comes right in here to Dion Rook, who I said had fell out of the game a bit. Oh, bad handball by Rook because the player wasn't ready for it there in Hamilton. But they're going to be lucky to get it away. Great tackle there by Scanlon as the half-time siren goes here at Fansett Park in the 1994 Western Border Grand Final. South Gambier 6-6 leading Hamilton 2-3.
6-6-2-3. Unbelievable. How many? Yeah. To 2. Darryl O'Brien gets us underway for the second half. 6-6 to 2-3 at half-time. Wet, windy conditions at Fansett Park. Gill breaks out of the centre. The Magpies need the first of the second half. Long kick from Gill. Sitting behind Capel was Russell. Well behind the big man, Lee Capel. Russell couldn't control it. And a good forward move to start the opening moments of this, the second half, by the Hamilton Magpies. Trailing 6-6, 2-3. Western Border League Grand Final of 94. From Fansett Park in Mount Gambier, courtesy of your local station, Channel 8. Kick out of the pack by the Magpies is offline, through for 1 point.
Tyrone Jones in on the ball now too, Jim. They've started him off at the first centre bounce, so looks like Rookie's gone back to the half-back line. Peter Gafer's back in the back line now, so made a few changes, Hamilton.
And the rain tumbles down in the southeast. Big kick out by Capel to the defensive flank from behind. The punch from Gill comes to ground, knocked on by Van Zetta. Comes back to Van Zetta, the kick smothered. Darren Van Zetta, very interesting opening to this game, as we've talked about. Here's a chance for Ahern. Needs to lift the captain coach. Got the ball forward. Nice defensive mark taken by Fear. And Matty Fear, who had 8 kicks and 4 marks in that first half, takes his 5th mark and kicks his 9th. Way back towards that scoreboard side defensively. Robbie Elliott went hard from behind. Elliott's stats are impressive. 14 kicks, 3 handballs, 4 marks to Robbie Elliott in that first half.
Talking about statistics too, Jim, Patrick O'Donnell had 16, And Dagger Harris had 11, so they've done pretty well. For Hamilton, Stevens had 15. Then you got Jewell and Van Zetta, both with 8, and they've got a lot of players on only 2 or 3 possessions.
Miserable conditions, David. The rain pelts down. We've got a game on our hands where South Gambier leading comfortably under the conditions. The Hamilton Magpies have got their last use of the breeze and they need to do something spectacular. Great play, Glynn, as he breaks through half-back. The kick's not a good one. They force it forward to Hamilton by fist. Coming after it hard that time was Kruger. Spent some time on the forward line and the youngster gets a free kick. No, it's not Kruger. 31, Mark Somerville, who came on as a reserve. And he'll kick to the left flank, which is the attacking side. Mark's won it very hard under the conditions. Who are the running players? Glynn got there first. Capel tied it up. Glynn got one high. And Wayne Glynn defends to this, the grandstand side. Beautifully weighted kick to Fear.
What a lovely mark, Jim, in his hands with the wet, slippery conditions like they are.
6 mark to Fear. This will be his 10th kick, as we called it. Very good defender, this young man. And he'll get a 50-metre penalty against Darren Van Zetta. And that's the first, I think, of the game.
Yes.
Centre breaks were interesting. I think it was something like 7-1 or 7-2.
Which is very, very unusual, Jim, because I thought South was getting the ball out of the centre. So there you go.
7-2 Hamilton's way, David. Long kick towards half forward. There goes Adderwall. Read it beautifully off the pack. Gee, they're good at that, South. Kicked away defensively by the Hamilton Magpies towards the grandstand wing. And the crowd enduring unpleasant elements at the moment, but that's winter.
Just, Jim, just one thing. The ball went to Hamilton's forward line early in the game, went to South's forward line early in the game. Just a difference in the crumbing aspect, Jim. You picked that up there like it's been happening all day. I know that.
But they read it off the hand so well, do the South guys. They're running so well. The kick by Stevens has had a big influence on the game. Shotty Stevens gets his foot to the ball, goes over the line. Stephen had 15 kicks in the first half. That's his 16th for the game. Number 10 for the Magpies as umpire Andrew Simpson brings us back into play. We're underway in the second half in the Western Border League Grand Final. The rain tumbles down. This is Kruger. Hand pass through the centre. Off the ground that time by Jervis. Forces the ball forward. Gill needs a good bounce and can't get it. Running back Winterfield. Fear falls over the top. Gill goes over the top of him. And finally Mark Dow says, I'll bounce that, thank you, gentlemen, under the conditions.
Because, Jim, we talk about like that... that Hamilton haven't been going that real well, but Jim, they've had the ball as much as South Gambier. It's just that the crumbing aspect and the overall skill of South Gambier has been just far superior.
Skill under any conditions will always tell out, and now it's wet and windy. South have controlled the ball. Glynn's kick is high, wide, and not very handsome. And a free kick on the kick into David Lollett. Lollett had an interesting first half. He only had the 7 kicks. In fact, this will go to Johnny Ahern. And Ahern had a fairly quiet first half. Kicked the goal, kicked their first goal of the game. And
it's really hard to kick this goal, Jim. He's tucked right in here on this forward pocket, and he had to sit the ball right at the front of the square and let the wind do the rest, I think, Jim. But he's outside 50, so it'll take a massive kick, and this is one maybe that the coach should try to thread through to lift his side.
Kicks from outside 50, starts it right, and of course with these windy conditions it will stay right, if not go further right. Nice kick though.
Lovely kick by Johnny Ahern. Would have went the best part of 55 metres with a wet ball, which is a more than a fair effort.
And Lee Capel to bring us back in as we have, that's the second score of this, the second half. Chips away into the defensive back pocket towards half-back flank, and Wayne Glynn takes the mark, and you can sense that if South can tie them up this quarter, they'll come home literally with a wet sail in the last, the way conditions are. You can see there.
Those flags now, Jim, of you look at the windsocks here at Vansittart Park, and they've really turned around as Van Zetta now breaks clear of the ball through half forward. Bad luck there for Craig Jervis. He couldn't get hold of the football. Couldn't get his hand on the ball at all, and South still worked very hard. Van Zetta's in there working very, very hard as well, and the ball will be thrown in right in the forward pocket here, Jim. But those windsocks now are really favouring the Anglican Terrors end here in Mount Gambier, and South will come home with that breeze in the last quarter.
His first half it was more towards that right forward flank to the left of screen. Now it's really into that pocket. So a defensive game now needed by South Gambier against the conditions. Lollett gets foot the ball. It's smothered. Kick off the ground by Russell is smothered, so the South defence holding firm towards the boundary line, and it will be thrown in yet again. Deep in the attacking zone for Hamilton. A lot of crowd noise. They're enjoying the game, even despite the conditions, trying to make their own enthusiasm at the moment, because not a lot happening that's entertaining and spectacular on the pitch. As a ray of sunshine almost breaks through as it's still raining, so the weather interesting, if not to say the least. Gill received from Stevens. Left foot kick, could have made more of that, Gilly. Andrew Gill kicks well to the left. It's out on the full, and it will be brought back into play by Mark Winterfield. He'll chip away. Bad kick, Winterfield. Gee, stood very close to the man on the mark.
Yes, I couldn't believe that, but they're going to throw the ball in, obviously.
No, in fact,
Oh, no.
Mark Dow's, yeah, he's read it. He said, no, too close on the mark that time was number 31, Mark Somerville for Hamilton, and he'll get another chance. Long kick. Outside 50 just. Fear went high, almost could have been paid
Yes,
that in
good
his
mark, Matty Fear.
And Matty Fear, mark number 7.
He's a wonderful player, Jim, Matty Fear.
Talented lad, puts a lot in the gym on the off nights, works very hard. Pioneers, are you listening? Kick by Adderwall, goes wide and out on the full.
This game now, Jim's become a real slog now, hasn't it? Like that 4-goal-1 break that South got must be looking very, very ominous for the Hamilton Football Club, Jim.
Yeah, real slog for Hamilton. They haven't given up. They're working hard. They're still in this ball game. There's a lot of time left, but things that need to turn around. The flow of the game has been mostly South Gambier. As Jewel worked hard, he grabs Prosperi Porter. Mark Dow calls play on, and the Demons work it out through Bates. Long kick towards half forward. Windsock blowing. It's on the attacking side. Bounce to Telford, but a free kick's been picked out, and just as well for Hamilton as the Demons were streaming forward. Telford had possession, but McGinley violated against.
Played very well too, Jim. McGinley's been very good across half-back.
Very experienced and very dependable. Kicks in towards the centre. One hand by O'Donnell, comes to ground. Here's a chance for the veteran and medal winner Robbie Elliott of past years. Kicks in short. It's not cut off nicely by Tyrone Jones. Kicks in towards centre half forward. Glynn reads it, gets rid of Van Zetta, and the free kick is given to Darren Van Zetta.
No one forward though. Van Zetta kicks to the open face of the goal, but once again these South Gambier players back in numbers, although Matty Fair couldn't control the ball, but they had 4-on-2 again, and I just don't know where the Hamilton forwards are. They just seem to be all pushing forward and no one back in front of the ball. So
I couldn't believe it. Matthew Fair made a mistake.
No, that's the first mistake that he's really made all day, Jim.
Deep in the forward pocket right, and Mark Dow picks out a free kick, and the Colossus Mick Ryan will take it. Ryan had a very good first half. Only 3 kicks, but 4 marks, 4 handballs, and numerous hit-outs to Ryan as he kicks to the defensive scoreboard side for the Demons. Going hard in there was Jervis. Players fall on top of the footy. And finally, they'll try and work it out. It's not very pretty, but it's effective for South Gambier. They tie it up again, and we're about the 10-minute mark of this a second. Free kick comes out of this. Trevor Russell, I think, or was it David Lollett? Have your pick. Into number 27, who's Stephen Jewell.
And he should kick this, Jim. He's inside the 50. He's got the wind behind his back, and they really do need this. If they can get this, it just might give them that little bit of a lift, because Hamilton have worked very hard on this first 10 minutes without any real result. But if they can possibly score here, it just might give them that little bit of a kick that they need.
Well, call it through for him, David, because Hamilton need it and the game needs it.
35 metres out, Jim. He comes in now with a drop punt, gets very close to the man on the mark. The heavy ball, it carries to the goal square, but once again, that magnificent trio of Chant, Glynn, Ryan and Cape will fist the ball through.
And
very resolute, the back line of South Gambier. They are a great back line, and they've done a fantastic job in season 1994.
6-6-2-6. Difficult conditions. Lee Capel will kick almost into the teeth of this. Well, not quite a gale, but a very strong breeze as he kicks towards the defensive side. Jewell did well. He's battled very hard,
Jewell. He's done very well, Jim.
To ground, Jervis again goes in hard. He's a battler. Kruger on the other side has done well.
Tyrone Jones just gave him a little bit of a spring in the ruck encounter too, Jim.
Big
so
number 6.
He's
about to take the contest now against Ryan. Mark Dow puts the ball down. Players go hard at it. It was Ryan and Jones. Kick up in the air. Prosperi Porter tries to work it out of there. He's tackled from behind. Nothing in that, says umpire Mark Dow. And we'll have a throw-in. Almost in front of the scoreboard on the outer wing here at Van Sittart Park. The Demons and the Magpies, Grand Final 94. It's a 4-goal lead to South Gambier. Top team all year. Only beaten once for the season. Kick in towards half forward. Hamilton defenders need to come forward. McGinley did well. Clever play, Telford. Tapped it into the path of Prosperi Porter. Beautiful tackle on him, who did very well in defence. That time was Gafer. Here's a chance, Elliott. Got the hand past Sims. Sims fed it off beautifully. The Demons work at the Telford. Telford will kick on right foot. McDonald ran onto that superbly.
Yes. Not only that, Jim, what good sideways vision by Brenton Telford there. A few years ago, Brenton Telford would have tried to kick that goal, but coming back to South Gambier, Peter Sims has done a marvellous job with Brenton, because he's become much more of a team-orientated player. And if Patrick O'Donnell kicks this goal, you can go over and pat Brenton Telford on the shoulder, because that was a very, very well-weighted kick and great vision.
Patrick O'Donnell, second in the medal for season 94 from the Demons. What a season he's had. Again, another lad who puts in a lot of time in the weight room in the off-season. Tremendous pace naturally, and what a beautiful kick off the boot. Tremendous kick from Patrick O'Donnell against the breeze. 7-6, 48 of the Demons, 2-6, 18 of the Magpies, and that really is the one Hamilton wanted.
You should put that goal down, as I said in the pre-commentary to Brenton Telford. Great vision there, Jim, and good players have that vision. You just something that you don't, you can't coach. It's something you've got to have and got to be aware of what's around you. And Telford's kick was spot on then. Very well done to Telford, and I feel sure he'll feel pretty pleased when he sees that on the replay,
yes,
perhaps
their
tomorrow.
Team orientation
very,
is
very much
David.
indeed, Jim.
And they ran to congratulate him, as they did Patrick Donald once the ball had gone through. 7-6, 2-6. The Magpies are hanging in, but the Demons are really chock full of confidence despite the conditions. Lollett again, he's battled very hard. Boots it wide to that defensive side. It's really not where the ball should be. Here's Kruger, the youngster. Had a good year on left foot, hooks it back, and running in and cutting it off is Craig Bates. Did it very well in front of a couple of Hamilton forwards. Chips away, that's dangerous. You'll need to get to it, Patrick. And takes the mark at his Payne and O'Donnell, one end or the other. What a game he's had.
He's had a magnificent game, Jim.
Chips in short towards Glenn. He'll need a good bounce. It doesn't bounce for him, but he's cool enough, and Grab didn't have the footy. And even though protests from Darren Cross come, hand pass is not good. Another free kick given away by Cross. Look out, don't give away 50. Bates takes the advantage kick. In fact, he doesn't. He hand passes over the top. Nicely taken, Winterfield, who's pushed in the back. No, out on the full. And the free kick will go to Dion Rook.
Johnny Ahern's gone to centre-half back too, Jim.
Chipped away nicely to Stevens. Oh, had it spent before he marked it. Renato Prosperi Porter gathers, gives it wide, looking for Winterfield. Ball tapped forward by Winterfield. That time was good defensive stuff in front of the grandstand. And we'll have a throw in.
Jim, the pattern of this game's been the first 3 quarters. Hamilton have had everything in the first 10 minutes, and then South come back and score a goal and really do demoralise them, don't they?
And they just seem to do it when they need it. And they do it with running style of game. And here's the runner who's had a reasonably quiet day for him, Kevin Harris. He hasn't had to do all that much. And one census from the Ox that will get a free kick now for out on the full, I think. In fact, the boundary umpire, Andrew Simpson, went the other way, but it is Kevin Harris, and South will go forward. Kick standing still towards half forward by Harris. Sims got a handy hand on it. Came through centre half forward and controlled it well, the big fella. Running off him was Adderwall. Fernando Prosperi Porter kicked a couple early. Stevens went back in defence. Telford goes over the top for South, and we'll have a ball up just inside, inside the 50-metre arc for the Demons, and they look dangerous when they can run on goal.
They look magnificent, Jim, when the ball springs free, don't they? Mark down, you had to put the ball down at the centre half forward area for South Gambier. Mick Ryan, Tyrone Jones comes out there to, I think it was Salmon, was it, Jim, or not?
It was Adam Salmon
who got the foot to ball, but just couldn't convert, and the ball will be relieved by the full-back in Alistair Wrench. He will kick the ball out for Hamilton now and relieve the pressure, but by gee, Hamilton need to have it down the other end to score some goals, to have anything chance of winning this game in the last quarter. Tyrone Jones against Mick Ryan. Comes down here to Whizzer Winterfield. Mick, the big Mick in there again. Paddy O'Donnell can't get his hand on it. In comes Timmy Scanlon. They got players everywhere, South Gambier. Scanlon now drives the ball down. Telford's underneath it. And McGinley gets his hand. Telford's in there. Adderwall, nice first give. Robbie Adderwall, great vision out here towards the Ox. But back in there is Johnny Ahern, the coach. Kicks across the ground now. It's a lovely kick by Ahern, but it'll go out of bounds, I would say. Michael Frost has got the speed there, but can't pick the ball up.
Again, the lateral vision very good as a change is made. Someone limps off for South Gambier. It might be Winterfield,
yes,
I think.
it is. It's Whizzer.
And Mark Lane comes back on. His father coached the Premiership side, I think, back in '74, and he's probably going to play in one this afternoon, 20 years later, David Case. Hand passed on towards Salmon. Off the ground, the kick that time could be on the full, and it will be a South Gambier ball. South Gambier to bring it back. And no, it's going to Hamilton. The call's interesting out there. On the full.
Must be out of bounds on the full.
It was on the full. It's just a matter of who was going to get it. Finally, it'll be
Tyrone Jones.
Jones indeed for Hamilton. The Magpies trailing by 5 goals. Under these conditions, it's almost 10. Long kick. Breeze really gets hold of it. Sitting behind beautifully was O'Donnell, but there's a free kick in play, and it will go back to Hamilton.
Conditions are really bad now, Jim. It's going to get very dark before this game's all over.
Might be Jervis again, the long sleeve of Jervis. Craig Jervis, right footer, into centre half forward. Beautifully centre ball. Rook ran underneath it. Glynn missed it as well, but he timed his second movement pretty well. Comes to ground. Players go on top. Mullen was down there. Prosperi Porter burrows in. Van Zetta breaks through the pack. Kick on the northern goal by Van Zetta.
Good goal. Very good goal by Van Zetta. Read the ball beautifully, and he's the player They've needed some crumbers like that, Jim, and that's the first occasion that I think for the whole game nearly where Hamilton have actually won the crumbs off the pack. So well done, Darren Van Zetta. Dion Rook did a good job in the pack there to hit the ball out and get the ball free, and Van Zetta's kick on goal was really good. So it's a well-deserved goal by Hamilton because they have worked very hard in the first 15 minutes of this quarter without much result. Umpire Mark Dow now to put the ball down. South Gambier 7-6, leading Hamilton 3-6. That 4-goal break, which has been right from the first quarter. Ryan in there against Huff. Ryan gets the ball down. Brian Harris back on the ground again. Tackles beautifully there, but the ball's pinned to the Hamilton player's hand, and umpire Darryl O'Brien will come in and bounce the ball again in the middle of Vansittart Park here on a very wet and blustery Saturday afternoon. Mick Ryan, the left hand over the top, paves the way for Adderall. Lovely handball across to Michael Frost. Onto his left boot, chips the ball into the path, and a beautiful mark here by Adam Salmon, who moves up the ground a bit. Salmon now gets around his right foot. There's that sideways vision again, and Mark Lane steps in inside the 50-metre mark. And once again, Jim, we've talked about it many a time, but the vision of South Gambier is nothing short of fantastic.
And their forwards are prepared to run to the attacking side, David.
Right.
I mean, they're very disciplined. The ball's going to come to you if you make position, and that is a certainty when you play for South. Nice kick, Mark Lane. Wind will get hold of this. It might have just got there. I think it's a goal. I think it's a goal, David. No, it is a free kick, in fact, to Hamilton. It might have crossed the goal line.
I think it might have too. It was a beautiful kick by Mark Lane.
Peter Gafer will bring it out. Brother of Mick Gafer, formerly of the Magpies. Chips away in short on the mark to McGinley, formerly of the Casterton Cats. So McGinley from half back kicks towards the wing.
Johnny Hoof, Jim.
And Johnny Hoof hit on the chest by that one. More luck, I think, than planning, but they'll take it, the Maggies. And Johnny Hoof, solid ruckman towards the wing. Knocked away beautifully in defence by Fear, I think. Have your pick. Frost gets it inside. O'Donnell, if you don't mind. Patrick towards centre half forward. Players come at it, all Hamilton there, but they muck each other up. Hand pass came out of it that time from Salmon. Falls short. Here's Harris. Back to Salmon. Left footer. Back in towards Adderall. Adderall finds space. It's a goal. He's grabbed too high. Wonderful work, mate.
Jim, how great was Matty Fear then? He come from half back. He run 40 metres. The ball was wet and slippery, but the young man is so confident. He attacked the ball straight at the ball, running a straight line, took the ball with him, got across to Frost, and consequently Richie Adderall finishes up with the ball with a free kick about 20 metres out from goal.
Adderall. I don't think he's kicked one so far today, has he, David?
No, I don't think he has, actually. He's had a couple of shots, but he's had a very good game, Richie Adderall.
And kicking from 25 metres, the ball wobbles off the boot, but it wobbles straight, which is what Richard wanted. And a very handy one. We've been saying that every time Hamilton get one, the Southerners respond. The Demons are 8-6, Hamilton are 3-6, and the margin of 30 points is just almost unable to be bridged, I'd say, by Hamilton at the moment. They're just not enough firepower, not doing enough in the centre of the run of play. And the Magpies looking down the barrel. 8-6, 3-6. I think we have a netball score for you. The final in the netball, David, I'm going to let you read this.
North Gambier 42 goals, defeating West Gambier 37. A 5-goal margin to North Gambier, and congratulations must go to Colleen Kelly and those wonderful bunch of North Gambier netballers. Commiserations to Lisa Hunter on a fine year, and the West girls, I'm sure, will bounce back again in 1995.
Terrific effort by Colleen Kelly and her women. Fantastic performance, and Lisa Hunter and the West Gambier team certainly did very well to get there, and only going down by 5 goals in the end, but a win to North Gambier. Out of the centre come the Magpies. Grabbed that time was Struthers. Finally comes towards Adderall, whose kick was also smothered. Here's Robbie Elliott. What's the skill? Beautiful vision to Bates, and the side running player again. But Batesy, not good with the kick that time out on the full.
Richie Adderall, Jim, 10 kicks and 9 hand passes, 20 possession, and his work rate has just been absolutely phenomenal.
One of the many talented South runners. There's a big kick from Roger Bade. Goes back over half forward, runs into the forward pocket. Kruger can get back there, but he'll run out of space. Kept it in, I should say. Wonderful play, Kruger, over to Rourke, and that's a goal.
Well done. That is fantastic. That's the first really bit of desperation, I would say, Jim, that you're really seeing. Kruger never gave that ball up at any stage. Kept the ball inside the boundary line, got the inwards handball into Rookie, and Rookie finished it off with a very nice goal. So Hamilton now are starting to show a little bit of character, although that last goal by Richie Adderall would certainly have dented their chances.
Dion Rook has had 11 kicks and taken a number of marks. I think he's taken 3. number of hit-outs, of course, if he played in the ruck. That's his first goal, Dion Rook.
20 kicks to Patrick O'Donnell and 10 handballs, Jim, so he's had a magnificent day as well.
The on-ballers, as we would
been
predict,
magnificent.
have just been terrific. Hit by Ryan. Last goal was the Hamilton. If they get the next one, maybe they can make a contest of this under the conditions. Running down, here's Kruger again. Russell went in to help. Finally, Mullen, the youngster.
Nice
Will he play in a
tackle.
premiership? Here's Stevens. He's a big kick of the footy. Hooks it round, but it's all South back here. Bates traps it. Playing basketball, Batesy, towards the boundary line. Stevens back in again. No, it's not. Picked up on the run. Kick towards that goal is offline by Kruger. And a good piece of play again by Michael Kruger. Created one for Rook out of nothing.
He's certainly come to life, Kruger, although he's been there all day, Jim, and he's had a real good contest out in his wing. Leroy now, big Leroy Capel, kicks the ball into the breeze, still outside of 50 to where Mark Lane was. Hamilton get the ball here through Somerville. Somerville now chips the ball back into the centre corridor. Russell's in there but can't get his hand. I think that might have been a little bit soft, Jim. I don't know what you think, but I think that might have been a bit soft. But then again, Mark Dow is at least 100 metres closer to the ball than we are.
It did from here. Gee, I thought it was a good contest and had to well outbodied him, but Russell's got the free kick. That's what counts. He can make the margin back to, in fact, 17 points with this kick. The windsock still strongly to the left of screen, and South will come home with it. Not a good kick from Trevor Russell. Gee, I'd have backed him on.
Never looked as though he wanted to kick it, Jim, did he? It was only looked as though he was half-hearted about it, although that's been perhaps a little bit harsh on Trevor because he's a better player than that. But
kick one in the second quarter.
This goes to show you what confidence can do, Jim, can't it?
Capel brings it to the grandstand side very confidently. Running back behind was a good spoil by Stevens on Harris, but no, over the shoulder. And Brian Harris will take the free kick. Van Zetter and Fia exchange it. But Brian Harris for the Demons as we go to the 25-minute mark. And one sense is that South have done enough because they'll come home with the breeze.
David Struthers now, Jim, a young man who hasn't done a great deal today either, but he's certainly come in the last few minutes.
Long kick back to half forward by Struthers. Ryan sits under it, went one-handed. Glynn tied it up. Gee, they support well.
Magnificent.
Chipped away to O'Donnell, who's had umpteenth kicks. And more to come, I'd say. Patrick chips away to Matthew Fear. Fear will go left-hand hand pass to Lane. Lane will give it to Harris. They start the pattern up the ground. Long bomb from Harris covers over the 50-metre mark. Simmons outbodied. It came back to him. Tried to slip the hand pass through towards Robbie Elliott. The boundary line wins out. And South with method and precision just work it into their forward line. And there'll be a throw in. And the Hamilton Magpies deep in their defensive zone as we cross the 25-minute mark of this, the third quarter.
Jim, superb backline play by South as Sims goes in against Hoof. Van Zetter tries to clear the ball. Mark Lane gets the ball out to the Ox Harris. These are the sort of goals Ox likes to kick. There's an open goal face and Ox pops it through. It's either a goal or a free kick to Brenton Telford. But how many times have you seen the Ox Harris do that, Jim?
Well called, David Case.
He has magnificent skills, that man. Powered away from the pack. Beautifully done by Mark Lane and Matty Fear back here with a couple of lovely handballs, and Patrick O'Donnell with a nice chip sideways here.
Number 23 was on screen, David. We've just gone off now. This is 24, Mark Lane.
He's a Western Border legend, Kevin Harris.
There he is, number 23.
A magnificent football. We talked about him being quiet, but by gee, that's the worst thing you can do about Kevin Harris, because you're sure as eggs he'll come back and do something magnificent like that.
Kicks the goal of the grand final so far. 9-6, haven't been many of them. 9-6 to 4-8. Ryan goes hard. Dual win against him, was it Hoof? I think Johnny Hoof. Well done, Mark Lane, to work it out of the centre to give it to Fear. Fear sells the dummy and works it to half forward. Beautifully precision to Sims. They're starting to cut him up now, the Demons. Sims centres the ball, but sitting in front is Gafer and takes a wonderful mark. And David, I'm going to give you a couple of points of the Kevin Harris goal. You nominated that before he got it.
I've seen him do it a few times, Jim. He's a magnificent player, Kevin Harris. And once again, the contest comes down, but the free kick here will go Hamilton's way, and it'll be through that young man's David Struthers.
Gee, a soft 50-metre penalty now, because Frost went to hand the ball it back. It did slip out of his hand, and Mark Dow has a sense of theatre. He's going to give a free kick to Hamilton. And they'll run it off. I think it's Struthers, is it again?
Yes.
Well, number 16, in fact, this time. It's not Struthers. Cam McDonald?
No, it is Struthers,
Struthers,
Jim.
You're right. I've got him. He kicks it wide. He's sitting underneath it. Somerville. He came off the interchange, and Somerville will take the mark. Outside 50, chipping away short. Oh, it's not going to carry.
Skills.
That time away from Jervis. The difference is that South Gambier hit you on the chest with those.
As I was just going to say, Jim, if it had been South Gambier, that would have been lace out on someone's chest.
Harris under pressure works it forward. Renato Cross-Reporter works it forward. We'll get a free kick, done. Renato.
But a great effort by Dagger Harris there. Absolutely magnificent. Worked the ball in front of his body.
And the free kick will go to Renato Prosperfora against Craig Jervis. And they just work it forward, putting the body over the ball, as David called it. And we're well into time on.
Do the hard things. Do the hard things, South Gambier.
Towards that swing position, grandstand side. Mick Ryan up. No free kick. Free kick will go to Johnny Hoof. And John Hoof kicks from the wing to half forward. Lee Capewell's in front. Where were you, Johnny Ahern? Well behind your man that time. And Lee Capewell takes the defensive mark. He'll feed it off the Bates. Now he'll chip it over the top. And he'll find Kevin Harris.
Coming into the game now too, Jim, the Ox.
Just to put the coup de grace, as they'd say, the final touches to the victory for South Gambier as we close on three-quarter time. Ball comes loose, McGinley. Long kick towards half forward. Glynn and Rook. Glynn the spoil. Rook did well to try and get back on the footy. Capewell fed it to Harris. Harris will give it to Mark Lane. Lane off the grandstand wing. Kicks it wide. It'll pull up inside the boundary line. It'll just beat Robbie Elliott over. And umpire Andrew Simpson says, "It's mine, gentlemen. I will throw it in." As we go to about the 28-minute mark of this, the third term.
Jim, South Gambier's depth in their 20 is just really showing now, isn't it? Like every player. Mark Lane's come on and had many possessions. It just goes to show you how strong the club really is.
Lane went on it from the throw-in. Comes to Van Zetter. Van Zetter's battled hard. Wobbles one to half forward. Glynn's got to sit on Rook. Rook got a fist on it. Here's a chance for Russell. Back hard against him is Chant, who read it beautifully and defensively off the ground. South Gambier have space through Frost. He'll get around Jervis. Doesn't try to take him on for space because the running player was Fear. Fear from the wing towards half forward. Precision kick in front and taking a solid mark. May have been out of all. It is.
He's been a very good player too, Jim Ritchie. I know I've said it a lot and maybe it seems as I favour the young lad, but he's a fantastic young player.
Kick cut out by Van Zetter. Back towards the half-forward line. Glynn's out, going to outrun Rook. Will it sit for him? It does. He goes inside Rook. Gets his left foot kick. Who's sitting under it here? Mark Lane does well. And he marks on the grandstand wing. Breeze blowing his jumper. As you can see, it's blowing to the left of your screen into the forward pocket for Hamilton, but they're not doing enough of the attacking. On three-quarter time. Behind, taking the mark, is Peter Gafer.
Played well, Jim. Been a very good defender for Hamilton.
Yeah, the back line's been under a bit of pressure, and I think most of the back there have done well. Gafer will kick.
Got no one to kick to, though, Jim.
Side. Jewell will need to fly against Ryan. Mark behind Mark Lane. Done very well since he's come on.
Extremely well. Mark Lane now got the ball here on the centre wing. We'll look inboard. Darren Sims gives him a lead forward. Now Adam Salmon comes in behind him, but the chip comes into Patrick O'Donnell. Took his eye off the ball that time, Pat. The first mistake he's made for the day, I'd say. Van Zetter's got the ball, spins out of trouble. Holding the ball.
And the South crowd love it.
And it's three-quarter time, Jim, here at Van Zetter Park on the 1994 Grand Final, with South Gambier 9-6 leading Hamilton 4-8. Kicks, mate. Can you give us an idea? Gee. Got a beauty, eh? Got that before they bounced the ball for the main game. That's...
Okay, stand by.
Get going, and then I'll get to the stats after, mate.
As soon as it goes out of bounds.
Yeah.
Or a goal or something.
Yeah.
Here we go. And umpire Mark Dow will get us underway in the final quarter of Grand Final 94. On Channel 8, your local station, Hamilton and South Gambier, 9-6-4-8. The Demons heading towards another premiership. Elliott, tap on, very cleverly done. Frost running through the wing, kicks towards full forward. Salmon to sit from behind it, didn't follow. Wrench got it to the front. Here's Telford. Didn't get his foot to it. Good tidy play that time by Elton Jackson. Tidies up for Hamilton back in the back line. And ominously they charge out of the centre.
Some of the stats, Jim, like Patrick O'Donnell, 21 kicks, 13 kicks to Renato Prosperfora, 18 kicks to Matthew Fear and 7 handballs, and Richie Adderall 10 and 8. So that's magnificent for the South Gambier club.
We'll come back to those stats, David. The ball's thrown in towards the Struthers. Struthers gets a kick downfield. Ryan sitting a kick behind, avoids Stevens, comes inside looking for Mullen. He can't take it. Finally, Prosperity Porter's grab, didn't have it. Allowed play to go on. Gill grab, didn't have it. Umpiring is very good and consistent. Here's Frost. He can't take it. Jervis, battle very hard, Jervis. And the ball will go over the boundary line.
Free kick here, Jim. I think on play, I think Jervis will get a free kick
Jervis
because
will bring it into play for the Demons.
Got to push in the back just as he got rid of the ball.
And he'll kick from defensive 50, as David called it. He'll kick over Robbie Elliott back towards the wing on the grandstand side. Big leap of Hearn from behind Mark's. Lane read it well. He got one high, I thought he did. And Mark
Just
Lane
on the stats, Jim, South have got 13 players with 10 or more possessions.
Kick by Lane is over 50. From behind Struthers, it comes to O'Donnell. He's besieged by McGinley, and the umpire lets it go. It'll be a throw in, left forward flank.
And the leading stats getters for Hamilton. Van Zetter has 12 kicks and 7 handballs. Johnny Stevens, 17 and 6 handballs. And then they just drop away to 4, 5 and 6 possession winners, Jim. So there's the difference.
Tyrone Jones got the hit out that time. He grabs Brian Harris, and he's been penalised for holding the ball. The hand pass by Jewell goes wide. Kick towards that wing position. Ryan sits under it. O'Hearn, a big leap from behind. And doesn't quite gather. Would have been spectacular, Johnny.
They really need to get the ball in the centre corridor now, Hamilton. Take as many risks as necessary, Jim, because that's where the ball has to be if they're going to win this game.
Yeah, there's no point just taking a boundary line. They've got to take a risk. Beautiful palm by Ryan to Kevin Harris, who bolts one across ground. Sims leads in the race for the ball with Struthers. Coming out to support Telford, who gave a beautiful shepherd. A lovely bump, got rid of him. Telford went in again. Sims couldn't take control. The boundary line wins out, and it'll be a throw-in on that outer side. Andrew Simpson, the boundary. Puts it in high. Johnny Hoof went in, got a left-handed punch. Jewell knocked it further afield. Picked up and brought back by South Gambier, and up and under. Stevens sits underneath it, almost took it. Harris came hard at him. Here's a chance for Kevin Harris. Left foot kicks, not a good one. Wrench. Hamilton under pressure, wrench off the ground. Taken away McGinley. Jervis, good defensive stuff by the Magpies.
They've been good, those two boys, Jim.
Out in the front it goes, and they can't quite take possession that time through Hamilton.
Jervis
number 21 in Kruger.
Sorry, Jim.
The line.
Jervis, Wrench and McGinley have been sensational across that back line. The ball's been there a lot. Big Mick Ryan against Johnny Hoof. Mick Ryan has been sensational here today. Hoof comes over the top. The left-handed palm by Ryan comes down to Gill, but a free kick's going to go the way of David Lollett, Jim, here. But he's been very quiet since quarter time, Jim. One of their on-ballers who's perhaps had a bit of a quiet day.
Yeah, David Lollett, the Rover, coming in for his 10th kick, and that's not a big performance from a Rover. Towards centre, Rook went high. Who's got it? Guess who? Patrick O'Donnell. This way, that away, kicking left foot. Beautiful kick.
Skills.
And he found Adderwell, who's had many touches as well. They'd be fighting each other for most possessions. Adderwell kicks long over half forward. Sims is in front from behind Salmon. Not Big Paul. This is young Adam. And he'll kick on goal.
Patrick O'Donnell's non-preferred foot there on his left foot, Jim, was a pleasure to watch, wasn't it? Oh, magnificent. Can understand why he was running up on the league medal, Jim, can't you? Because really, you look at him and Edmonds, and they deserve that role because they're both two of the most beautifully balanced players in Western Border Footy League.
The kick from Salmon to really stitch up the Magpies is beautiful off the boot. He may have just missed to the left. No, he's got it through from the left. Beautiful kick out of Salmon.
That's just about it, Jim. Would you say it'll be very, very hard now for Hamilton to get back, and the South Gambier side is certainly a very professional unit and beautifully coached by Peter Sims. And we spoke during the reserves, Jim, about the discipline in the South Football Club in their 3 teams, and it certainly showed here at Vansittart Park today.
Well, I don't think the champagne is actually open, David, but it's well and truly on the table back at Blue Lake Sports Park, I can tell you. Ryan and Hoof. Johnny Hoof's battled hard. Ryan, big punch. Gee whiz. We're going to talk about O'Donnell. We're going to talk about Adderwell. We'll talk about Fear. We'll talk about Elliott. Don't leave Mick Ryan out. What a performance he's had. What a season he's had. Kicked long towards that tough forward line for Hamilton, but the ball worked back as they concede ground. Ahern, long one out wide. Jervis has got to run onto it, but Bates is back there to defend. He'll give it across to Michael Frost. Who'll he give it to? He'll give it over towards Mark Lane with a wobbly kick. Falls to him. Ahern was late. Good shepherd, Adderwell. Did the hard things. Lane running through half forward. It'll beat Telford over the line in the left forward pocket. And it's 10-6 to 4-8. The Demons are home, and we're at only the 5-minute mark of this, the final quarter.
Some of the South Gambier's off-ball work, Jim, some of their shepherds and their blocks has been really a pleasure to sit here and watch.
They do it for each other, David.
Of course they do, Jim. They're just so team-orientated.
Just repeating, a big win in the netball. Good win to North Gambier over West Gambier. Gallant West going down, I think it was 42-37. Big kick by Brian Harris is going to go very wide to the right. And a kick in by Peter Gafer for out on the full.
Hamilton's worked very hard all day, Jim, but it just broke down once the balls got inside their 50-metre arc. They just seem to haven't been able to capitalise on the good work of some of their backline players.
Yeah, they can't play Dion Rourke everywhere. If they had two of him, it might have been a
might be the way,
case.
Jim.
And the ball goes towards that defensive outer flank, and it will be thrown in out there. Well, the Demons quite happy to have it there. They're going to win a grand final under adverse conditions, wet, windy, cold, but I don't think they'll be feeling too much of that as Ryan and Hoof go at it again. Stevens got a tap on. Van Zet has battled hard, gave it on nicely to Gill. Gill runs through the centre and kicks towards half forward. Rook is in front that time. Glynn played very well as well to Fia behind. Glynn goes in again for a second effort. Jervis was over it, going on top of it, Jewel. And finally they almost tied up. It does come loose. A chance for Gill again. He'll need to run. Mullen will beat him for pace. Back towards McGinley. Brian McGinley, wonderful battler. To Stevens, who's been a fine player. Back to McGinley. The ball very slippery. South will tie it up. Hamilton going nowhere.
Jim, that's great. What about the gang tackling of South, Jim? 5 and 6 blokes there, all tackling and dragging the players to the ground, holding the ball in. Just really is a pleasure to sit here and watch them play.
Mark Dow, both umpires, Mark Dow, Darryl O'Brien, done a fine job. Bit of a fiery start to the game. In fact, before the ball was bounced, Lee Capel, as we've said, was sent off the ground, but it's settled down very well from there and played in good spirit, David.
Very good spirit indeed, Jim. It settled down. The players have played the ball, and both Hamilton and South Gambier have certainly had a red-hot dip here at Vansittart Park. The ball's thrown in. Huff and Ryan, that lovely big left hand of Mick Ryan's. Paddy O'Donnell's in there. Darren Van Zetta's in there. Roger Bade's in there, and the ball comes to the negativity side of it, and Mark Dow will bounce the ball. Johnny Hoof will go against Mick Ryan, and Mick Ryan's been an absolute tower of strength here today, and Johnny Hoof has certainly done his part by trying to contest with Mick all day. The bounce by Mark Dow. Once again, Ryan with that left hand. It comes down to Andrew Gill onto his right foot. Matty Fear leads the ball. Johnny Ahern's there, but Matty Fear takes the boundary line with that lovely big left-handed punch and puts the ball out of dispute and puts it over the boundary line.
Throw in between wing and right forward flank for the Hamilton Magpies. Hoof and Mick Ryan will go for this one, as they've done for most of the day. Dion Rourke have done some rucking as well. Mullen cleverly to Harris, left footer from Harris. Around the corner, McGinley sits underneath it, plays on, tries to force the Magpies back into attack. Matthew Fear, hard on him was Gill.
Free kick, Jim, over the
will
shoulder.
Be a free kick to Fear. He had his eyes on the ball. Andrew Gill did not. And Fear has had a big game.
One of the most underrated players in Western Border footy, Jim. I don't know whether you'd agree with that or not, but I feel that he's
very dependable. Players like he, Chant and Bates. They're not household names, David,
no,
but they're very reliable.
They talk about the Glynns, they talk about the Capels, but by gee, I tell you what, young Fear and Bates and those young players back there are certainly fantastic footballers.
Kick from Struthers towards half forward. He's lifted his game a little, Struthers. Had a few touches. Here's Dion Rourke. Wonderful player. He's been against the odds today. Over half forward, outnumbered 3-1. Finally, Hamilton get in and support. Trevor Russell's had a dirty day, and players fall on him, and he's penalised for holding the ball. He wants to get up and wrestle Lee Capel. Well, I don't know. I'd think twice about that, Trevor. Nice bloke, Lee, but
guess
I wouldn't
who's
want
got
to wrestle
the footy, Jim?
Fear to Lane. Who'll they work it to?
He's done well too.
By hand to Glynn. Glynn, he'll give it to someone. Just chips it out nicely, looking for this man again, Patrick O'Donnell. Just grab his stats again, David.
Yes.
Unbelievable. O'Donnell kicks in short, but not good that time. Ahern cuts it off, runs to the 50-metre line, drives in long and low and very inaccurately into the left forward
26
pocket.
kicks, Jim, and 12 marks. 12 marks for a ruck rover is not a bad effort. It's not a bad day's out, is it?
Best on ground?
Oh, I think you'd have to go very close to it. But by gee, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned Mick Ryan, who's been sensational. Richie Adderall's been great. That back line of Fear, Cape Wall. Like here's another young lad that's come on and done very well. Mark Lane has certainly proved that he should have been in the spot. The young Michael Frost here. If he gets the ball now, he'll prove costly. But well done by Hamilton there.
Very clever.
By Craig Jervis, and he would nearly be Hamilton's best player, Jim. I reckon Jervis. He's played very well.
And to the boundary line it goes. Craig Jervis played very well on Michael Frost. Michael Frost left the ground for a little while, so maybe there's an injury there. But Jervis very cleverly that time as Trevor Russell comes off. The veteran coming off, and there's a shot of number 6 who'll come on in, Tyrone Jones. The veteran Russell off. Jones is back on for the Magpies. Ryan goes to ground. Hoof made sure he did. Johnny and Mick And in fact, a free kick against Mick Ryan. That's a bit hard. Johnny Hoof gets the ball.
I don't think Mick would mind, though, Jim. Give him a spell, most probably.
Kicks it wide, and the mark taken by
Darren Cross, Jim.
Cross has got in. Only the one goal kicked by South in the final term. That's the only score of the final quarter. Hamilton kicked 2-5 to South, 3 goals.
He's got
in the
nowhere
third.
to kick to again, Jim. They had 3 handballs there because they had no one give them any option in their forward line whatsoever.
Kick off the ground by Gill. Here's Mark Lane. He's done very well, Mark Lane, since he came on. Hand pass to Fear, who's grabbed. He didn't have it. Hoof gets him down. Gill goes in hard. Chance there. Finally, Mullen sees it over with Michael Frost there to support him.
Making sure he didn't fall over, I think, Jim.
10-6-66, 4-8-32. We're over 10 minutes of the final term on 8 Sport, your local station. The 94 grand final from Vansittart Park in Mount Gambier. Thanks to our statisticians, Louise Ambrose-Pierce and, of course, Olivia Bullet-a-Gate Sims, who played a very good grand final, I must say, for her side last week in the Mount Gambier Netball Association. Eamon Buckley doing a little bit of the stats too. In fact, we'll get the centre break so he doesn't feel left out.
He doesn't know, I don't think, Jim.
Lost him just a while ago.
A long time ago, he tells me.
Throw in. From behind, a Hearn big punch, but he's given away a free kick. No, he hasn't. In fact, yes, he has. And Michael Ryan. Mick Ryan, there's Johnny Ahern's hands on his hips. Can't believe it. He's preparing his commiseration speech to his troops, I'd say.
10 centre breaks to Hamilton, 7 to South Gambier,
Yeah,
Jim.
that's
a bit surprising.
Yeah. Lovely mark from behind, a beautiful mark from behind by Roger Bade. A fair game too, Bade.
Yes,
tried
played very
hard.
well. Generally, their back line's been very good, Jim, but then again, they've been under a lot of pressure too.
How the free kicks tally up, David? Just
about 35 all at three-quarter time, Jim.
There's
so
73 kicks for the game so far, so under the conditions, you'd expect that, I think.
Well, the umpires have done a great job because the game's been wet and slippery, so therefore any free kicks they've picked out and got the game going.
Throw in, again Hoof and Ryan, with Bade coming at it. Renato Prosperi Porter, what a game the youngsters had. Bit quieter the second half. Elliott looking to give it off. Chip, beautiful vision and weight. The Harris who runs onto it and kicks a goal. Put down the glasses now.
It's all over now, Jim.
Get out the glasses if you're at Blue Lake Sports Park watching this one. We know you will be, South Gambier, and viewers throughout the southeast and western Victoria. And South Gambier celebrate another premiership. 11 goals, 6, 72 to 4 goals, 8-32 at South Gambier, cruising onto a premiership in 94.
And I just had a look at young Paul Mullen then. Jimmy run 50 to 60 metres just to pat Dagger Harris on the back and tell him a good job. And that's what footy's all about. Talk about the word passion, mate. That's what it's all about there.
Absolutely, David Case.
Bit
it's
of
an emotional
too.
game, football. And that's the thing we like about it, David. As Greg Champion would say.
You've been listening to that CD too much, I think.
I gave it a hammering, I'll tell you. It's not in my possession anymore, and the family are very grateful for that. Johnny Hoof will take it, or will he? No, Mick Ryan might. No, Darren Sims in the ruck as the rain tumbles down, but it won't dampen the spirits of the South Gambier Demons. Return through Shotty Stevens back to Darren Sims. Sims will chip it in short. Glynn running down the ground. Feeding it off to Frost, or is it Adderwell?
Adderwell again.
Adderwell again, long into the pocket. Ryan from behind, well read McGinley. Chips away towards that defensive side. Running out for it out there is Jewell. And the ball goes over the boundary line. The rain tumbling down. The spectators starting to drift out a little. I don't blame them.
20-minute mark now, Jim. The game's all over now. Just a matter of formality now and going through the paces of the last few minutes. Boundary umpire to throw the ball back in now. It'll be Darren Sims and Hoof. The Jewel comes over the top. There's Dagger Harris with a nice big tumbling punt kick down towards Adam Salmon. The ball hits Brenton Telford, tries to kick it off the ground. Ball's in dispute here now, and Hamilton should be able to clear. Michael Frost is in there. Comes out here once again to, I think it was Jackson. It might have been there, Jim. I'm not real sure who that player was. It's so dark out there. In fact, it was Elton Jackson who run the ball over the ground. Boundary umpire to throw the ball back in. Still in South Gambier's attacking zone. The players now, Hoof and Mick Ryan, they can hardly lift themselves off the ground. The ball's in dispute. Robbie Elliott with a lovely left-handed tap. Back to Elliott again. Comes out here now with a left foot snap at goal, and the ball goes out of bounds on the full, kicked off the boot of Adam Salmon.
And a free kick will come back. I think it'll be Wrench who want to bring it back into play for the Magpies. Alistair Wrench will get the ball. We're at the 15-minute mark, David. It's 11-6-4-8. The Demons cruising to grand final victory 94. And you're watching Channel 8, your local station.
And of course, Jim, the earlier results in the day were South Gambier and North Gambier drew in the under-18s.
And David, someone being carried from the ground. We don't like to see that.
No, that's not too good, Jim. Looks like Don't know who it is either. Can't see quite from
Coming
here.
around, the camera will pick it up later as Wrench brings it in with the left foot back towards the defensive half back line. Might be Brian McGinley, I think. Comes to ground. Chance for Trevor Russell to get a note. Rather, it wasn't Russell. There's a shot for you. And I think it is Brian McGinley.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think McGinley's still out there, Jim.
And might be Struthers. Well, we've had enough guesses. Got to be one of them.
Johnny Ahern's got the ball anyway, Jim, and he clears the ball from the deep in
Struthers.
in the South Gambier forward line. The ball's in dispute here right on centre wing in front of our commentary position, and the ball will be bounced up. I was just saying before, Jim, South Gambier, North Gambier fought out a draw in the under-18s, so they have to come back next week, and of course South Gambier was successful in the reserve, so well done
Roger
to South
Bade
Gambier.
was the player carried off, David. Roger Bade carried off. That's unfortunate as they give it by hand to Elliott. Wonderfully done by Frost. Ryan went one-handed again. That's interesting. Comes towards Salmon. Grab didn't have it. Gets away, though, off the ground, a la Pelé, a la Maradona. Here's the man who can kick goals in Telford. Hooked it back very well, but not quite enough by Brenton Telford.
Well picked up by Brenton, too. It was a nice, clean pick from the ground.
11-7 to 4-8, and that's really been the season. South Gambier dominant all year, and the dynasty may reign for a while, David.
That's exactly right, Jim. I was just speaking before. They got their thirds who got to come back for a replay next week for the grand final. Their reserves have won, and here their seniors have absolutely dominated this final series in the Western Border Footy League.
Ball to the defensive side. Telford goes over the top of Gill. It comes loose. Could this be Attawell again? He's grabbed, didn't have it. Play on to the umpire. Harris went in. Sims back pedals and chips beautifully to Frost, who almost took the grab. Coming in on it, Stevens did very well. Beautiful pick up, Stevens. All class as he comes through the centre. Kicks the rule, cut off by Bates. Gee, they're ruthless. They are mean. Bates, left foot kick towards this grandstand side. Elliott's got a paddock if it bounces for him. Lollett's trying to run him down. He'll work inside Lollett and give it to Mullen. Mullen left foot chip goes to Brian Harris. The ball skids past him, but also gets past that time Jackson. Players come over the top of Porter. Was it for a nut?
Yeah,
Prospery Porter will get a free kick inside 50. Still about a kick and a half out though for Renato with this ball.
It's very heavy now, Jim. The ball must be very heavy.
Will he chip it away or will he go long? He's going to go long, David, as we go to the 17-minute mark. Big screwy attempt by Renato. In front, Salmon knocked off by Ryan, who gave it to Harris, who kicks a left foot goal. No, kicks to the left.
That's generally one of Kevin Harris's specialties, one of those left foots over the shoulders, Jim, but ball a little bit slippery today, and we can't blame Ox for that.
Scoreboard 11-8 to 4-8, and it's a big 7-goal lead to the South Gambier Demons. We approach the 20-minute mark of this, the final quarter. Advance to the park. You're watching the 94 grand final on Channel 8, your local station. Late on a Sunday afternoon, we hope you've had a good weekend. It was certainly a wonderful game out here, in this replay being brought to you on Channel 8, your local station. Greg Stevens goes in. The Demons will be enjoying it at Blue Lake Sports Park. I don't know over at Melville Oval whether the Hamilton Magpies will be enjoying it.
Jim, but then again, they've done well to get there, haven't they? Really, they've beaten 9 other teams to be there. So obviously they've done a good job, because this time last year, Hamilton weren't even looked like playing in the final series.
You think the Cats might have made it a better competition?
It's hard to say, Jim. Like, Hamilton beat them twice in the final series, so everyone you speak to seems to think so, but Hamilton are here and Casterton are not, although I do personally believe that Casterton were perhaps the second best side in the competition, but obviously they weren't good enough to get here, so therefore you've got to congratulate Hamilton on at least reaching the 1994 grand final.
Matthew Fear, I can tell by the left foot, raking kick over the centre square. Going up was Jervis. Had a wonderful game, the youngster. Might get a kick here, but falls to him. Beautifully read. Hands to Ahern is not a good handball. The big fella has to bend for it. That puts him in trouble. Back on towards the half-forward line. Players go down. It was Kruger. Picks up a free kick, Michael Kruger, and he'll kick from outside 50. Runs through that
Jervis has played
square.
Pretty well too, Jim. Still getting
battle
possessions.
Very hard. There's the man in question, is it? He's brought to the ground. Here's Kruger again on the right foot. Hooks it back towards half forward. Sitting under it is Frost in the outfield at the cricket. Granted, better footballer than cricketer, Frosty. Kicks towards the boundary line. That time was Jackson. Glenn's got a paddock back here. The ball beats him out of bounds. And the crowd's starting to drift away. They're heavily under the shelter of the grandstand full, and a lot of the...
It'd only be the really dinky-die South Gambier supporters now, Jim, I'd say, because it's very, very
celebrate a
cold.
premiership, I think you put up with this weather. The rain stopped, but the wind's cold. Still blowing left of screen and putting us back into play. Boundary umpire Jason Shepherd. High throw in. Sims now in ruck. Falls behind. Here's a chance for Craig Bates. Back pocket, kicks towards the wing. Here's a chance for Telford, bounces over his head. Good defensive stuff that time by Gafer. To ground, 7 down the field. Jervis, clever player, but he runs out of space because Telford shuts him down. That's Frost. Number 25 working hard. Alistair Wrench is down from fullback with Adam Salmon. A free kick. Bit off the play. Ginley gave a free kick away to Frost. And well picked up by the cameras.
Yes, well done by Michael Frost. He certainly put his body on line and deserved a free kick.
He'll kick from in front of the grandstanders. You wouldn't believe the sun bathed Vansittart Park, David.
What, at the 25-minute mark, Jim? But I think tired legs by Frost. He's put it over the boundary line, out of bounds on the full.
Richard Adderall took the mark, no question of it. Oh, Jackson gave the ball away. No, it's a free kick coming back. Has to be taken by Peter Gafer. And we're over the 20-minute mark, about 21, moving to 22 minutes, final quarter. Gafer, long kick.
That breeze is pretty strong there now, Jim.
Rook went high, didn't quite take it.
Jewel to Harris, yes.
Bang goes the Ox. Long towards Ryan. Again goes one-handed. Got to work on that a little. Spoils his game a fraction. He could possibly take more marks than he actually does. Alistair Wrench is defensive out there. He'll push it to the boundary line and over the line and out, and umpire Andrew Simpson to bring it back.
The thing is too, Jim, that maybe Mick's playing to a game plan too. Maybe the plan is to get the ball to the ground so that maybe the South Munners can capitalise on him.
He does a lot of weight work. He's a strong man. I'm just wondering whether he just gets a little tight around the shoulders. Something to think about, Mick. As Elliott goes in, by that I mean he can't quite lift both arms together and on full stretch. Here's Lollett. Weights will do that to you, especially if you get a bit muscle bound, and he's a big man. Gill, left footer, in towards half forward. Rook went at it, but gee, they punched from behind, and what are we at the 25-minute mark almost, and still the discipline's there. They chip away nicely through that time. Summerfield to Ahern. He's got Jervis out wide, but he's a bit late to get to him. And Johnny Ahern reckons I might have a ping at this one. And the big number 4, the captain coach in his first year of the Hamilton Magpies, has led them well, but not enough today.
Just haven't seemed to have enough forward power, Jim, have they, all day? They've struggled all day, you know, forward of centre. They just seem to be that perhaps one forward short. Would you agree, Jim, or not?
Yeah, I think we've picked it, David, and their on-ballers are fine, their backline's very good, but they're just the forward short. Rook tries to get under that. That's out on the full from John Ahern. Long kick, but faded left with the breeze. And the Magpies really not having much luck. Haven't scored in this, the final quarter. Winning at 4-8 after kicking 2-5 in the third. And South have added 2 goals, 2 in the last quarter of the 94 grand final. Bates to bring it back, I think, is it? No, it might be Chant back there. It is, in fact, Chant. Nice kick. Defensive side. Players go hard at it. Well done by Lamarck Lane, in fact. Here's Renato Prosperi Porter. Quick legs. Feet inside looking for Harris. Wasn't well directed. And the Magpies clear it up to Rourke.
He's kept trying too, Jim. Rookie,
lovely pass to Jervis. If you've been impressed with him, David,
yes,
and so
very.
No, it wasn't, in fact.
Cross, Jim.
Cross it was. They look alike with the long sleeves. Hand pass to Lane out of defence. He fumbles, rarely. And through they work it again. That time Kruger. One-handed that time went Jones. Finally Ahern. Will he kick a goal? Johnny Ahern off line, or did he kick it? I think he snaggled it.
Goal,
he did
Jim,
indeed. Yes. Johnny Ahern kicks his second. And the Magpies race along to 5 goals, 8:38. The Demons, David, unfortunately for them, are 11-8, 74.
Jim, we must pay compliment here to South Gambier's administration before this game's all over. I said you off air earlier. Barry Smith started it back 2 or 3 years ago. Keith Dixon this year, the president's come along and taken over and run a very, very tight ship. But I think the man that I admire the most at South Gambier is Billy Patzel. I think that Billy's done an enormous amount of work for South Gambier, and he certainly has done a power of work, and is one of the reasons why South Gambier is so strong in this day and age.
I heard he's going to be drafted to West, David. Any truth in that rumour?
No, we'd like to perhaps be able to get his expertise, Jim, but he's certainly done a great job, and between him and Keith Dixon, they've run a very, very tight ship out there at South Gambier.
David Lollett is run down. Players working nicely out there. Kruger is for Hamilton. Kicking in short to Darren Van Zetter, who's died out of it a bit in this last term. He's a battler, though. Missed the preliminary final because of suspension, but he's back for the grand. Capel went one-handed because he had his other arm wrapped around an opponent, and it goes to the boundary line for the throw-in as we approach, and we are at the 25-minute mark of the final quarter.
Of course, Jim, how well coached are they, Jim? How much praise can you put on Peter Sims?
We were singing Peter Sims' praises in 92. He's only gone from, well, leaps and bounds ahead. He's a very, very astute man now. And the players respect him. They play for him. They play for the club. And I always believed you play for your coach. He's a very influential young man, and he's doing very nicely. Not a champion player himself. Peter would be the first to admit that. But boy, as a coach, terrific.
He certainly is of the highest esteem, isn't he? You can't put enough accolades on the man, and well done, Speed. I think you'll be very proud tonight to see this wonderful bunch of not only these 20 out here, but the 40 that played in the earlier games today as well.
South Gambier go forward again towards their half-forward line. Salmon leading in the race for the ball, gets it. Hand pass over the head is very well done to Frost. Frost chips away on that northern goal. Telford behind, in front that time. It's taken by Telford, and Telford read it beautifully off the pack before Gafer could get to him. And Brenton Telford, the dynamic little forward pocket, who's a player whose own discipline's improved 100%.
How good was the handball here of Salmon
to Frost to Telford. Yes. Brilliantly done. And one of the final nails going to Coffin. 12-8 on the scoreboard. 80 South Gambier to 5 goals, 8, 38. 7 goals is the margin, and that's about what you'd expect it to be. 1 or 2 moments left in the game. We'll give best players and goal kickers in a quick wrap-up shortly. So, David, you might start to gather those goal kickers for us. Add Brenton Telford to that list because that was a great goal from behind. Peter Gafer did the right thing, got in front, but the ball came over the top and very quickly onto the boot from Telford. Here's Gill chipping away. Won't be long now, and South Gambier celebrating their second in 3 years. Is this Patrick O'Donnell? Patrick, where have you been the last 10 minutes? Chips the half forward. Telford went high. Robbie Elliott hit him on the chest.
Will he kick another screw punt, Jim?
Oh, I'd have to. He'd have to. Take him off if he doesn't.
What a way to finish the grand final. He went back and kicked another 50-metre screw punt goal.
He's got to have a shot. He's gone well back. Let's see how he holds the footy. I can tell. Yeah, it's a screwy. We used to call them torpies in Victoria. Big screwy. Yep, he's going to get onto it. Look out if he does. No, didn't get onto it. Dropped short. You can just about predict that. Look out, to ground it comes. Kick off the ground by Gill is good defensive work towards that outer side. Playing for a bit of pride now, Hamilton. McGinley's run down by Harris, but they see it over. And a throw in to take place between back pocket left, or rather right. Well, it is back pocket left for Hamilton. Forward pocket right for Mount Gambier. South Gambier. I'll get it right. It's been a long day, David.
Yeah, it has indeed, Jim. Since 7 o'clock this morning.
Ryan, big punch. Well done by Kruger, back towards the centre, coming through Lollett. Well done, David Lollett. Almost got foot to ball. Prospery Porter went in. Salmon's playing up the ground. Long kick downfield will beat him across the line and over and out for a throw in. In fact, it may not have been. It was indeed Salmon. Beats Telford.
I'll tell you what, Jim, this grandstand alongside of us has been fairly vocal here today. The South Gambier supporters have really packed themselves in there and kept this crowd entertained down in front of us anyway. Good on the supporters.
Yep. Throw in, Ryan from behind him. Almost got a free kick then, Mick. Hoof went behind him. McGinley falls over it. Mark Dow's just letting it roll. Salmon's tackled. And there it is. Season 94 is at an end, and South Gambier are premiers in season 94. Final scoreline, 12-8, 80 to Hamilton the Magpies, 5-8, 38. So the Demons 80, the Hamilton Magpies 38, and they congratulate each other, the players. Commiserations to the Hamilton Magpies. Well done to Peter Sims Demons, and there's a shot of Peter Sims on screen. Pats on the back for the coach, and what a popular young man he is.
Very, very superior football side, this South Gambier Football Club, Jim. Just run through the goal kickers for South Gambier. Patrick O'Donnell got 2. Rat Prospery Porter got 2. Kevin Harris 2. And then we got the Dagger Harris 2. Salmon 1. Elliott 1. Frost 1. Salmon 1 and Adderall 1, Jim.
Okay, for Hamilton, David, I can tell you the goal kickers. The captain coach led the way, Johnny O'Hearn. He kicked there first. He got 2 today. 1 each to the following. Darren Van Zetter, Dion Rook, and 1 to Trevor Russell for the Magpies, and their 5 goals, 8. The 7-goal victory as they gather and congratulate their team, to the supporters of South Gambier. Some better players, David. First of all for Hamilton.
Well, I don't know what you thought. I thought Shotty Stevens was very good, Jim. I thought that he tried his heart out all day. I thought that Craig Jervis was very, very good also. I thought that he had a red-hot go and really put his body online. David Lowell, that was in and out of the game, bits and pieces, but didn't really have much influence on the game. Andrew Gill picked up a few possessions across the ground there. And McGinley, Jim, but their best players were fairly hard to find.
Okay, shots again of a very jubilant South Gambier huddle as they celebrate victory in 94. Just quickly, their best players, David.
Well, Jim, I thought Patrick O'Donnell was sensational. Him and Mick Ryan, we talked about other players that come into the game that cross the half-back line there, Matty Fear, and I reckon that those 3 players were absolutely nothing short of sensational.
Well, David Case, thank you for your support again in season 94. Good grand final call. The Demons will celebrate 94. Our thanks to Robin Reid, the production crew, and all the technical staff from Channel 8, bringing you to production on this Sunday afternoon. Been a great one for South Gambier, a great one for Western Border footy against bad conditions. But for 94 from Vansittart Park, Jim Buckley signing off for Channel 8 Football.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Amy Buckley, the delightful young man.
Well done.
Fantastic effort, and we really appreciate your support to